Morning, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call together the February 5th, 2026 school committee meeting. If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. This evening we have our consent agenda posted, which are the minutes from our January 22nd, 2026 meeting, as well as the oath of bills of payroll. I'll note that Elaine's joining us virtually this evening, so we've got 4 present. Since we're hybrid, everything will be roll call. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes. All set. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? So moved. Motion made by Sean.
Second.
Seconded by Janine. This will be a roll call vote. Sean Ahern.
Sean, aye.
Elaine Santelman.
Aye. Elaine Santelman, aye.
Again?
Yeah, Elaine Santelman, aye.
I'm going to come back to Elaine since we have no response. Janine.
Janine, aye.
Justin McCarthy votes aye as well. And Elaine, last chance of those, we'll just put you down as abstain.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Here we go.
Okay, great. Elaine Santelman, aye.
All right. Beano wasn't here for the motion, so we'll mark that 4 out. Beano has just joined us. Welcome. This is our first opportunity for interested citizens. So if there's anybody with us this evening, either in the room or virtually, that'd like to speak before the school committee, this is your first chance. Second chance towards the back half of the meeting. Please, just approach the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi. Hi, I'm Margot Bloomstein. I live at 7 Wilson Lane. I'm the parent of a 4th grader at RSS and on the school advisory council. I approached the committee in the last meeting because I'm very concerned about what's happening with our district's ICE readiness. And I come at that both as a parent and because on the school advisory council, I've been hearing questions about it and conjecture and anxiety about it from other parents since I would say late October, early November, when I started hearing like, are we doing anything? Does our school have a plan? What happens if ICE comes here? Do teachers have a plan? Do we treat it like an active shooter situation? Because it's people wandering around with guns. What do we do? And my response to that was, well, I don't know, and I hate thinking of myself as like a pass the buck kind of person, but I was like, well, I don't know, but let me bring it to the next school advisory council meeting. So I did that, and we discussed it briefly there. And in the interim, I also heard from some teachers saying like, yeah, we need to know what to do. We need training on this. We're not entirely sure. The response that I have largely heard is we need to do something. We think it's important to do something, but we don't know. And in that absence of information, in any topic, people tend to flood it with conjecture and anxiety and concern. And I think that, as I said last time, we have a responsibility and accountability to parents, to teachers, to other community members, maybe even people that don't have kids in the school district yet or previously had kids in the school district and care about kids in our school district, to let them know that, yes, we have a plan. So as I said last time, I think that as we've seen other school districts, both across the country as well as right here in our region, respond to parental concerns, sometimes proactively, by saying, yes, we're training up our teachers in other additional ways. They don't always go into specifics as to what those ways are, but it is incredibly heartening to hear that it's on the radar of that particular school district and that they are taking additional steps to train teachers. I'm a communications professional, so personally, I tend to care more about what are we communicating than what necessarily are you doing to train them, but I trust that other people do take care of that. But as we've heard, other school districts, sometimes superintendents, sometimes school boards or school committees engage their different constituencies and different communities. I think more and more we're looking for that at home too. And I think that communication is happening at other levels. Certainly the Office of the Attorney General put out updated messaging over the past couple of weeks. We've seen the governor's office put out updated messaging. But many studies show how we most trust messaging that comes from people that we already know, whether it's a school principal, a teacher, a family doctor, or a school superintendent. We need to get messaging from people that we know that training is happening, maybe how that training is being tailored for current times. That the school is maybe just reiterating its commitment to keep kids safe and secure, both physically within like a building, let's say, as well as emotionally secure, so that like teachers know what to do if there are ICE agents out on a playground. Do we keep kids away from windows so that they don't see that? This past month, Worcester's superintendent emailed all the families to explain how they're committed to keeping students safe. Lexington superintendent Julie Hackett has been in good email communication with parents, talking about like how to keep kids safe emotionally by talking with them about what they're seeing on the news. She offered like other resources and links to like the American Psychological Association. She shared how teachers are going through Know Your Rights training, because as we've heard from many educators, they're willing to literally and figuratively put themselves between kids and people who might be trying to attack or steal them from like the playground or wherever they are. And I think if our teachers are willing to not be so risk averse, but to lean into the need, we certainly can too. So what I would love to hear is, do we have an updated plan for these modern times? And how are we going to communicate with parents and when, so that we get a sense that there is training, planning, guidance on where to turn next?
Yeah.
It's very possible that it might be the same time from additional people in the room. So if that's the case, maybe we'll just hear from everybody, and then if the director chooses to respond, that's the case. So if you'd like to approach this video, your name and address for the public record, please. And if I'm wrong, we'll still have our opportunity to talk to you. Right.
My name is Sarah Buckholtz. I live at 1 Sarah Doublet Road, and I have 2 fourth graders at RSS. You can read me on that.
I'm sorry. It's okay.
I just want to briefly return to, thank you. I just want to briefly return to this concern that's been raised about communication with families regarding ICE and school safety. And my concern isn't political, it's about clarity and trust. When responses are vague, fear fills the gap, as you alluded to, and that fear is not experienced equally among all families. But I also want to emphasize that this shouldn't be seen as a single issue either, but as part of a larger equity discussion or a larger equity question. How are decisions made when it comes to communication, curriculum, and professional development, especially in moments that disproportionately impact marginalized students and families? Who is at the table when we select social studies, literature, and arts curriculum? And how do we ensure that those decisions reflect multiple perspectives, including those that have been historically marginalized? And when we talk about DEI or DEIB, families also want to understand process and accountability. How are we determining the needs of our children? And how are we measuring whether our efforts are effective? And how are we identifying our blind spots, particularly in curriculum, instruction, school culture? How are we preparing educators to respond thoughtfully to student comments related to race, immigration status, or gender identity for that matter? How are we preparing educators to prevent students from harming each other? These issues are not abstract. Our children are already encountering. Many of us are hearing kids still using words like gay as insults or jokes, or I'm hearing racial slurs circulating among peers. And this isn't about blaming children. It really is about recognizing that silence, hesitation, and avoidance doesn't protect anyone. Preparation does. So as a parent and fellow educator, I see how much safer and stronger our community can be when adults are equipped to lead with clarity, with care, and with intention. I appreciate your willingness to listen, and I hope these questions can help guide continued work towards trust, inclusion, and equity for all of our families.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have anybody else? Anybody online?
Yeah, there's one person online, Libby Donegan.
If we could just have your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm at 31 Florence Street, Libby Donegan. I just
Okay.
wanted to say that I agree with the previous speakers. And I feel like it's really important to make sure that we're prepared, even though, we obviously hope this never happens in Littleton. Just coming from a preparedness standpoint, I want to make sure that we have some protocols in place. Also in the event that someone's detained and we're having to take their kids to them, just because this is something that happened in Minneapolis. Like, I hope this isn't something that we have to do, but having some protocols in place will help with, the kids and with staff members, because none of this is what our teachers signed up to do. But, protecting kids is. So making sure that everybody, is considered here is good. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Anybody else, Steve?
Nobody else.
Nobody else, okay. Thank you very much for your comments. I'll give the superintendent the opportunity to respond, or if school committee's members would like to chime in, that's great, and then we'll close this portion of the
I
meeting.
can certainly start. I mean, first of all, the safety of our students and staff are our top priority and will remain our top priority. We did communicate extensively when the protocols first came out. The protocols that are being used for Homeland Security and ICE are universal throughout the state. We all are following the same protocol. Our protocols came from the Attorney General, endorsed by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. I understand completely. We all are witnessing things that we've never witnessed before. Events of Minneapolis has opened our eyes. Our teachers have been trained, and I'm disappointed that there's a perception that some of them apparently don't know what's going on, and that's a concern I have as a superintendent. The principals, all the administrators in this district have been extensively trained. The police department have partnered with us. But I agree with you. I think the recent events in the last 2 weeks is definitely a cause for reflection. I did receive a update from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education this week. That's the first one I've received since this whole thing started. The protocols remain unchanged, but what has changed is the Governor Healy, has created an executive order and is in the process of getting legislation passed to keep Homeland Security ICE officers away from schools, churches, etc. In terms of our protocols, I am sending a message out through the school principal's newsletter on Friday. It's going to be titled Desi's immigration update.
It'll have multiple links that will link everything that we have access to. That information is public information. It's on the Attorney General's website as well. We do hold a responsibility to make sure that our citizens are informed that this is a difficult time, and we need to make sure our community feels as comfortable as it can during these situations. So, in essence, again, I think Chairman McCarthy talked to some of you last meeting. If ICE does come into our district and knock on our schools' doors, they're not allowed in our schools. They're not. They will be referred to central office, and there are 3 senior administrators, including myself, that will deal with them. The first question we will be asking is, why are you here? And if you want to talk to somebody, what papers do you have? If they have a judicial warrant, then we have protocols that we have put in place. One of the 3 of us will be consulting with our attorney, and they'll be walking us through each step from that point on. The judicial warrant will be faxed to our attorney, and they'll verify whether or not it meets the requirements of a judicial warrant. All other warrants, in our eyes, are non-valid. We have an obligation to not release any information about our staff or our students. Not going to happen. The administrators were retrained this week. I was away last week. This week, we spent an hour going through it. And they, in turn, are talking to their staffs and giving them the materials that you will be receiving as a community as well. My administrators are expected to have a folder on their desk with all the materials that they need. The protocols for various scenarios are in place. Would fall under our safety plan, and depending on what happens, will determine the direction that we take. Obviously, if we think there's any form of threat involved, our first response would be 911, and they would contact me. And then we would determine at that time, or perhaps the principal may have to determine before we even become involved, what the next steps are. They're fully versed in the actions that we need to take in those situations. It's unfortunate that we have to think that way, but we do. There's nothing we can do about it at this point in time to make sure that we have our protocols in place and hope that we never have to use them, but we need to be ready. But again, I want to assure you, I've been here for 15 years, and every day I wake up, and every day my administrators wake up, the first thing on our mind is the safety of our students and staff. And I guarantee you that will never change. So, although whatever I say may not be comforting enough because there's so much unknown out there, we are going to hold firm to our policies and protocols that we have in place. The only other statement I can make is we will do everything that we lawfully can in these situations. I expect my administrators to act within the law, and we will act within the law. So if you have any questions after I send that update out, please feel free to reach out to any of our principals or me personally, and we'll certainly have a discussion. And I would like to thank you for coming here. It just obviously maybe the communication should have been sent out earlier, but I was waiting for updated information from the Department of Education, and it came out on Tuesday. So it gave us a chance to take a look at it, make sure there were no changes. But we are ready, and hopefully, again, that we will not see any officers from Homeland Security or ICE coming into our schools or near our schools. So. Does that answer most of your questions? I know there was something about curriculum. I can address that partly.
Thank you for that. I think I appreciate that level of detail, and I think, directness, because as you said, some of this communication has not changed. Some of it is shared across the state because we've received it from the Attorney General. It has not changed in months. However, given that parents are still expressing that anxiety, I think even just a message saying like, we are still following, we speaking in the first person plural, not hiding behind anything, but we are still following the guidance that we've gotten from the state. Our commitment to your children, to our children, has not changed. I think that goes a long way. And to your point that the communication went out in the beginning and has not changed. I mean, yeah, like medical guidance that I follow from my doctor that the CDC or the APA issued years ago has not changed. But it still is helpful to hear every flu season, every new cold season translated on a basis from my physician. And I think that level of intimacy and forthright communication serves to kind of help people stay the course emotionally and know that the school is still staying the course. You said, and these are your words, that teachers have there's the perception that they don't know what's going on. What I heard from teachers in our school district was that they felt like they needed more training because they don't know what to do. Or at the time, this was over like both a few months ago and then more recently over the past few weeks, hearing it again. They didn't know what to do in certain situations. And I think you said if we know what to do, if ICE comes and knocks on our door, that's very kind of Three's Company vibe to it there. But I got the sense that they did not know what to do if ICE shows up on the playground. So if there are opportunities to both communicate that, and it sounds like that was in like a folder on the administrator's desk, if there's an opportunity to both communicate that and then ensure that the training is sinking in through practice, role play. I don't know what that needs to look like, but it sounds like there's a gap there.
This was an in-person meeting, so it wasn't sent to them, and we went through a number of scenarios with the administrative team. My expectation is they take those scenarios back to their staffs, and have those conversations, and we'll involve our resource officers as well. We're really lucky to have 2 resource officers in our district. That gives me a little more confidence in these situations as well. It won't take long for our resource officers to be at the school's doorstep if we need them. So
Yeah.
kind of it gives us a little extra confidence in this situation. Doesn't mean that that's the solution to all of this, but to know that we have those resources readily available to us is important here. So
Agreed. I had a question. You said the Friday principals updates will have the updated DESE guidance or the DESE update in it. Will that be reiterating what has come down, or will it be sort of translated for more of a principal to parent communication?
well, I asked them to put it in. It's an update from DESE to us. It talks about what our governor has done, and then it revisits the links to all the information that's accessible to us as a district, and we've extended that to families as well. When the protocols first came out, we weren't allowed to disclose them. And then all of a sudden, they came public, which is fine, but it was kind of interesting to have a few districts that put that information out, and they were receiving letters as a result of explosive for public consumption. Now it is. I think during these times, especially during the present times, this is important. So I can write a separate message and send it out through school now with the same information if that would make people feel more comfortable. So certainly willing to do something like that. Just use the same information, but my my own paragraph or two on it to reinforce what I talked about tonight. That-
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, to have something translated to come from an individual rather than an entity makes it more intimate and actionable. And even if it's a matter of just saying, we're all in this and there's a lot of questions, we're wading through them too. But we wanted to share this. It's an effort to open up the lines of communication, and build trust. I think that go a long way.
I mean, we're in interesting times. I mean, this is one of many things I wake up every morning and process. I mean, this is just the time that we're in. There's never been a time where that hasn't happened, but there seems to be much more to process every a year ago. So we can certainly do that. We do want you to feel comfortable. I mean, all I can say, I can't go too far into the what ifs, but we always have our intruder protocols ready to access. And without saying much, I think you know what I'm saying. It's situational, but if we need to go down a different road, we're trained to do so. And so is our police department. Can't speak for the police department, but they train us in the protocols that we use in situations.
I think even for parents to hear that can be helpful and grounding because it replaces the I think you said kind of when fear fills that gap, it helps to fill that gap with information instead, because to me it sounds logical and what I would expect. But I've also heard from numerous other parents that are like, well, we don't know what to do if there's like a bad guy with a gun on campus. And I'm like, well, we do. We have drills for that. And then there's like, you see like oh yeah. But I think to hear that from an administrator would be helpful.
And again, thank you for coming out and seeing that. It's interesting when you have information and you want to send it out at the right time. And sometimes it's really helpful to hear from part of your community. I mean, we don't want to give too much information. We don't want to create panic. But at the same time, we want our community to feel that we're training and we're there. And we are. And I'll be asking my administration after this week's meeting to send me an email confirming that they've retrained all of their staff as well. So just for my sense of knowing the job was completed to the expectations that I set as the superintendent. And one of the challenges we did talk about during that meeting, as parents, you know what happens every day in school. We certainly have more people coming in and out of our schools than we have in a number of years because of absences, etc. It's imperative that before anybody comes into our school and takes control of the classroom, that they have that training and understand exactly what to do. We don't want any holes in our plan. It's something that you can't assume until you have all of these processes in place. When I look at the number of substitute teachers that come to our schools on a monthly basis, there's a significant number of people. Thank goodness most of them are regulars, but we need to be assured that that's the case when we make that statement. So. And social and emotional learning is an important part of what we do at our district. This is where these difficult conversations take place within the SEL curriculum. We also have a SEL curriculum at the high school. It's in its third year, and it's called Character Strong. And so there are opportunities for those conversations appropriate to each age group.
I think being able to see district or school leadership lean into those tough conversations is a wonderful example of that strong character. I mean, obviously, discretion is the better part of valor, and I think so is leaning into risk when it's appropriate.
I'd like to know more about these difficult conversations. I know maybe not right now, but I mean, how difficult are they? I'm familiar with the SEL curriculum, and I just want to come back to what the way that you referred to what I said. You said something like, And then you mentioned what she said, and then you referred to what I said as like, and you mentioned something about curriculum. And I have a question, like, is that what you got from what I said? Something about curriculum? Because what I was trying to bring up was how this concern around communication about ICE was part of a larger issue, larger question about equity. And to be more blunt, what I'm asking is, how is the mostly white decision-making structure ensure that it's not reproducing blind spots when it comes to curriculum, school culture, student safety, professional development?
It's a great question. We're very cognizant of that when we're reviewing curriculum, and we have curriculum committees for each subject discipline. Our leaders have all been trained in equity. Pretty hard to not continue training in equity whenever you recertify as an educator or whether you pursue other degrees. But that is part of what we do. We actually, the principals verify at the end of every year during the summer to the superintendent that they've looked at any potential equity issues and have identified and sign off on as well. So this is something that we continue to reflect on. I mean, equity is part of who we are as a district. I know we don't have a tremendous amount of diversity in our schools, but our diversity in this community is increasing. We're very aware of that.
Without, with all due respect, even if we were 100% white, there's ample evidence and reason why our schools, if they were all white, would need to learn about issues of, I mean, to be able to talk about race.
Right.
And other things too, like related to identity. And I'm not necessarily asking for answers right now. These are big questions, right? I'm asking for continued work regarding this, but I do have questions like, who decided what the equity training was? Who got to decide that? And how do you know that that was the best fit? That it was indeed, how do you measure that it that's meeting the needs of our population, of everyone? But those are just questions that I hope that I ask, that I urge everybody to continue to return to. Just continue to assess what an acknowledgement of we don't know what we don't know. And then figuring out together how do we find out we don't know, and how do we continue to check ourselves.
Very true.
Gotcha. Yep. Thank you very much for the questions, and Kelly, thank you very much for the thoughtful response. Find it completely acceptable. I don't have anything to add to that. I don't know if anybody else does, or if you feel like administration covered it. That's great. I didn't close interested citizens, and we did have somebody join it, so I'll just give you an opportunity before I close it. No, all set. Okay. Perfect.
No.
Just double checking. All right, so I'm going to close interested citizens, and we're going to move into recognition. We've got our student representatives report. So Sid, everybody, please take it away.
So to start off, Shaker Lane has an exciting week coming up. On Monday is their 100th day of school, and this will mark a big celebration for when they look forward to the future coming up. And then on Wednesday will be their global play day, where they will play fun board games throughout the day. And Friday, they will wrap up the week with Valentine's Day celebrations. And Shaker Lane would like to thank and wish all families a happy and safe upcoming February break. Moving on to Russell Street. Russell Street has its Sports and Patriots Spirit Day tomorrow. Students can come dressed in any sports gear or uniforms. Fifth graders will have their first band performance at the townwide concert next week on February 11th. And families are invited to the Minds in Motion night of math and literacy on February 12th from 5 to 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Clenchey, is there any other recognition that you wish to speak of this evening?
I do have one.
Great.
So I know we forget things fairly quickly after they happen, but we had a significant storm last weekend. And the storm lasted 36 hours. And I want to commend our DPW, Steve Whitten, crew. Eric Bentley, our maintenance supervisor, and all of our custodians for working many, many hours without sleep or seeing their families. The entire storm took 55 hours of their time before we were ready to open schools. And it's a testament to the dedication of our departments to put that time in to make sure that we're back in school as soon as we possibly. This time of year, I always usually make a comment at a meeting. When we decide to delay or close schools or have school, it's a combination of conversations with multiple departments in town and beyond. I have a listserv of close to 45 superintendents who extend conversations with their DPWs, police department, et cetera. But as we all know, conditions are different in every community, so we have to gauge what we do according to the conditions of our particular community. There may be occasions, rare occasions, that a family may be in a situation where they feel that it's just too icy on their property, or their roadways weren't as cleared as they were 2 hours before school starts. As a family, you have the decision to determine what you're going to do. Either you feel comfortable sending your children to school, or you may drive them to school. I mean, those decisions we respect. And even though our town isn't very big, the conditions within our town can vary throughout time, depending on the wind, the type of snow that we have, how our contractors are piling up snow, et cetera. So I just want to make that statement. When we do open schools, we feel that it's safe with the information that we have, but I don't want a parent second guessing themselves if they feel that it's just not safe in that particular street or whatever. They can do what they would like to do and give DPW a call, because they're pretty responsive to those kinds of situations. Keeping my fingers crossed that maybe that was the storm of the season, but I'm not too sure that we're out of the woods yet.
Hats off to the DPW.
Yes, and our custodians.
Great. All right, we've got 3 presentations scheduled for this evening, as well as some old business to cover. So the first presentation this evening is a presentation discussion on postgraduate outcomes. So I invite high school principal Dr. John Harrington to provide an overview of student outcomes and transitions to post-secondary college and career paths.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here tonight and present some strong numbers for the high school. Particularly, we have a very strong college-going culture. School, we've had it for some time. The numbers reflect that, as you can see. There's been an increase in interest in 2-year colleges for a variety of reasons. We've been discussing that previous school committee meetings, potentially due to affordability, likely due to affordability, of course, but also our dual enrollment options are feeding right into that at the high school, with having emphasis at the high school and some of our own coursework with a lot of our faculty, or a fair amount, as adjuncts at Middlesex Community College. A lot of people are taking advantage of the Commonwealth Compact, recognizing that the college credits that they earn in their junior, senior year, and in, say, a place like Middlesex Community College in freshman and sophomore year, be very helpful because it transfers right into a state college for the completion of a 4-year degree, sometimes in an expedited fashion. We can finish in less than 4 years, but it certainly helps the cost. So I just wanted to note that tonight, as I have previous meetings. You'll see that we do have students going immediately to the workplace, stats there. But 2025, our numbers are, you might see it, if you looked at the school profile in DESE, you might see a percentage or 2 off. These numbers are from the LHS School Counseling Department, which has the most up-to-date, accurate data. So there's the DESE data is based on a submission that's done in July after students graduate. They have some way of reaching out to certainly state schools and other clearinghouses to try to validate their data, update it. But I spoke with the guidance department this week just to verify and kind of account for sometimes that certain percentages being slightly. Why is this 2% less or 3% more? different places, and they were able to, so I wanted to present this chart here, though it doesn't, you might see like a percentage or two off from the profile page that everybody can access online. Couple other notes to share tonight. We have lots of anecdotal data and some quantitative data that students continue in college and complete their degrees after graduating from LHS. It's especially pronounced when students return to college after completing their freshman year and heading to their second year successfully. DESE has this data available for us to access in the portal, and it's called, they have a phrase for it called college persistence. That's a nice number, a nice phrase, but it's nice to see that. Like, we have a lot of alumni visiting. We have alumni, lots of alumni on our faculty. We have alumni, young alumni who go back and substitute teach. And we get to talk to them all the time when they just come back to visit teachers. And one of the questions I often pose to them is, do you feel as prepared or more prepared than your peers at college? And they always speak positively about their experience in the whole LPS system. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Another thing that I noticed in the portal, I had access to more data that's not on the public page for our profile. We have a range of 50 to 60% to attend in-state institutions, depending upon the year. And we have a range of 40 to 50% to attend out-of-state institutions, depending upon the year. Lots of our students are now attending out-of-state and private schools compared to 10 years ago. I have been here 17 years, so I've seen that change over time. There's more geographical diversity, more students even choosing to go south. A lot of kids interested in the warmer weather, so we do see that. But we also see kids go into the Midwest. Two kids recently went to Indiana, had a great year this year with the national championship.
Who knew?
I don't know if they do that going there, but I'm sure they had a great celebration this past few months. I've already talked about community college. I want to just also acknowledge things I've presented before. I think our numbers are reflective of our high participation and performance in AP courses. We see that students that are able to go to very selective schools, but they also are, their applications leap out at admissions officers because they're taking rigorous coursework at the high school. And most, if not all, of our students have completed the Mass Core, and I just want to speak to that. This is a DESE specified curriculum. Completing the Mass Core is a minimum undergraduate admission standard for Massachusetts state universities and the University of Mass system. And it reflects readiness. DESE uses that term. DESE data consistently shows that students who complete the Mass Core are less likely to need remedial non-credit courses when they get to college. And we know that there's been a trend across the nation with more and more students not in other communities and other states, and reports from college and university professors that students arriving at college are not ready to do college or will work in a lot of places. And it's nice to see that it's not true for in the main for little high school graduates or at freshman year of college. Mass Core is a state recommended program of study intended to align high school coursework with the expectations of college and the modern workforce. So I think our curriculum stands out like it does at so many high performing high schools in Massachusetts. They're very similar and they follow the Mass Core. It's recommended and we do it. And I think it shows in our results. I just want to go back to the graduation rate just to acknowledge that chart. It's worth just for the public since I didn't speak to it at the outset. Simple chart tonight, not lots of slides, but speaks highly of the school and staff and commitment and resources that the school committee and community provide. 4-year graduation rate that's quite high. And when it's adjusted, I explained that how it's a more stable number. I gave the definition there below. The adjusted rate does not include transfers in to high school. That's a really high rate for 2024. We don't have the 2025 data yet on graduation rate. When we do, we can update that. We can tell you what it is based on our numbers, but this is directly from the state portal. And it wasn't the 2025 data is not there in the portal yet. So that's my presentation tonight. And I also included the matriculations for the last 3 years. This is directly from our graduation program. So you might have noticed that. You'll see if you scan through it, you'll see lots of selective schools. You'll see trends though. Like there's certain colleges that are really popular with our students year after year. And there's years where we have lots of kids going off to, whether it's Plymouth State or UNH, I'm looking at that, WPI, UMass Amherst continues to be very popular. St. A's, Northeastern's very popular with our students. There's a whole list there for people to see online if they want to see where our kids ultimately enroll in. This is not the list of schools they applied to. It's a lot of different schools, but this is the schools they decided to enroll in. So, and when did you do that? Yeah, Virginia Tech was there too. I actually had highlighted that one too, because that's, you know, a very popular school for a lot of our students and do well there. Any questions?
Questions for Dr. Harrington, comments? John?
Sure. Thank you. First of all, I was curious if you're able to get any information about college graduation rates of our students, right? Do they finish in college?
Well, what I spoke to was the persistent, that is in the portal, the persistence rate. So we do know that students do go, they track data, or at least they're able to track the data from going on to freshman year of college to second year. I didn't come across anything like that. Because you see the variety and diversity of the schools around the nation. Maybe we have international students. Canadian schools have become increasingly popular for our kids. That also, you might notice that. So our kid who went to St. Andrews as well as Scotland on that list. So we see students now even looking international in some colleges and universities. So it's hard to, we'd have to do an alumni survey, I imagine, try to, get them after that data. Anecdotally, I can tell you yes, because it's still, the small town we have. And so I talk to their parents when I see them. I talk to their siblings, many of them are still at school or they come by to visit. Like I said, I know that they're in master's programs and or they're doing well in a workplace many years later. We have alumni reaching out to us all the time. I think that's one of the things I'd like to see in the future is really build up our alumni network. I think it's an untapped resource for us. So one of my goals in the future is to make sure that we really have, I would say, a robust alumni connection online, LinkedIn, Facebook, something like that, where a lot of alumni come back and visit the high school to speak to classes because about their specialties. And again, that's another resource for us. So I'd like to see that connection, and I think they've enjoyed the outreach too. That we didn't forget about you. Would you like to be connected to the high school? And there's a lot of online platforms for us to enable to do that very well.
That's great. Thank you.
The graduation rate, that means successfully completed the coursework.
Good.
It's not, that's not just 98.5% of students walked, and some might have received a certificate of completeness or.
Yeah, this is the diploma.
Yeah.
We do have, for special circumstances, kids would have a certificate of attendance and things like that. Very high special needs.
Correct, sure.
Kind of thing. It's a small percentage. But it also indicates that we have something we're proud of is a low dropout rate. We really work hard to help kids complete courses. We see that we're intervening early on. We can see flag kids either because of low academic performance or poor attendance.
Sure.
Just not engaged and motivated. We have kids we talk about each and every single year that we're proud of because we knew it took a lot to get them across that finish line, and we're grateful to the staff and the counselors and really teachers who work closely with them to get them across the line, even if they had no interest in going to college, but they sometimes have no interest in completing high school. So in each cohort every year, we have a group of kids who are done with us before we're done with them. And we have a little bit of that going on right now in the senior year. Many of our, including Sid excluded, who's got great plans ahead. But we have, we have kids here and there who they just want it to be done. They just want to be done with school. Yeah.
So
and they graduate. So
yeah.
And sometimes I have kids, in the summer that helps our graduation rate too. Like they don't necessarily finish on let's say June 5th this upcoming year, but they're with me in June, sometimes in July,
Sure.
doing work. But it's a very small number. It's a kid or two.
Right. I mean, 100% is the goal. There are one or two extenuating circumstances always in a class size of 122 or 125 that's gonna pop up where you just can't get the child there.
Yeah.
But I just want to let you know, the school committee appreciates those efforts, those interventions with absenteeism. Let me sit next to you as you do this coursework. What can we help, how can we help you get through this? Because we are a small town and we, as alluded to with the public presentation, like public speakers, like we do care about everybody in town. And it's not just, hey, if you're done with us, we're done with you.
Yeah.
No. While you're here, we want to get you across that finish line. And then from there, you can choose what you want to do. But we at least want to equip you with that high school diploma, because then that opens up a world of opportunity for you. And without the high school diploma, oftentimes with the workforce opportunities, that becomes a basic thing that you need. You might need it to become benefits eligible for an employment position or something like that.
Supportive network, just to add to what you're saying, is very strong in high school, as you know, and the broader community too, resources. We have people who are willing to come in, help kids and reach out, if they need something to talk to, tutor. Here and there, we've had members of the community help our kids through just their, because they're, we had one who stepped up this past year and we ended up employing as an assistant for the educational support professional, was a retired engineer, and he's great at math. And he told me just the other day that he loves his job. He just enjoys helping kids.
Right.
He didn't have to do this, but we saw that he might be available. We reached out to him. What do you think about this? And he sees the opportunity. He's been a great addition to us.
Yeah.
Elaine is online, wants to say something.
Sure. Well, before I call you, I think all of the resources that we have in this district speak high to this graduation rate, because some kids don't graduate not because they can't do the schoolwork. It's the other things that are going on in life that sort of get in the way and push the schoolwork to the side.
That's right.
So the fact that we have the in-school psychologists, psychiatrists, and the guidance counselors, and the homeroom that you follow with year to year, or build that rapport with that working group and all that, like that, Jason's effort where every adult in the building knows a child or identifies with a couple of kids.
Yeah, very proud.
It's all that stuff that adds up that gets everybody across the finish line.
Very proud and grateful for our staff.
Yeah. So thank you for those efforts, everybody. Elaine?
Yeah, hi, John. I'm going to turn on my camera and I hope my face isn't looming over you too much. But thank you for bringing all of the data to us. And in many ways, I feel like this connects with the Portrait of a Learner initiative, because we're all, as a K-12 system, pulling in the same direction, trying to make sure that our efforts with our graduates are going to meet the test of time, and that our postgraduate information tells us that we have succeeded. So my question is, I was wondering if there's a way when students graduate to ask them to volunteer their personal email addresses so that we can follow up with them, maybe send out a simple survey, a year or two after graduation, to see at that point how they feel they were prepared for their postgraduate life. It's great that we have so much anecdotal information from kids that come back to visit, but it would be great to have a more across the board information that's a little more actionable, I guess.
Quantitative.
Do you think that's possible, or is that being done?
I do. Yes, I appreciate the suggestion, and I think that's quite doable. I think I referenced it in some previous remarks, just about using an online platform to maybe help get that survey out there as well as emails. But that wouldn't be a problem at all. I think we had actually initiated, it was that something similar to that they have access to their school email until January after graduation. I believe that's when they're shut off. But so we could check in with them prior to that, and we could. But I think prior to graduation is the time to get their personal email, although they may change it. They'll be on their university email. People go through sometimes, especially younger folks, that may go through multiple emails. But for that early, stage of, 4 to 5 years after graduation from high school, they probably do have the same email. But using, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, other mechanisms, our website, just getting word out there, pushing it out to them in addition to their email, and then surveying them. I think that would be a great addition to our practice at high school and connect with alumni.
Great, thank you.
Good. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You want to visit?
We'll clap first. So, John, I would want to emphasize something that if you, I mean, you said a lot of great things, but one of the things that we have that's unique to this district is a number of our students that come back when they're in college on their breaks and substitute teach for us. And those numbers of students have been increasing significantly in the past 3 years. So that gives us an opportunity to not just do a survey, but to have these students come into our classrooms and perform a substitute teaching duty. And we kind of get to know them in a very different way. No better information that you can glean than having somebody that has graduated from your school system comes back. They may not be education majors, but they want to come back and contribute to our community or school community. And that gives us an opportunity to develop better ways of communicating with them when they go back to university, so or college. So I think that's unique. I'm sure it happens in some districts, but we have quite a few of our students, that are coming back and substitute teaching. That's definitely a measurable outcome in terms of the information that we are able to obtain from them. I mean, Dr. Hayden and I have had conversations. How do you create an opportunity for some of our students that have graduated to come back and have a panel discussion? And I know CPAC did a similar event last year for the first time, and it was very powerful. I know it's hard to get our graduates back, depending on where they are, but that would be very powerful as well, as to have our community, our staff be able to come in and just listen to our graduates talk about their high school experiences and what was advantageous to them being successful in their journey to that point in time, and are there things that we could have done that we didn't do. So another area that might be really powerful as we continue to think of ways to connect with our graduates.
There's that quick shot, really killing us. Do we have like an alumni club room? Is there anything facilitating that post graduation?
I'm going to turn that to John.
I think it's specific to each class, and I talk to different classes every year that got representatives from the class when they organize reunions and stuff. In fact, I just spoke last week to a member of the class of 1976, and I invited her and some of the classmates who were interested to come to graduation. We did this similar thing in 2018. The class of 1968. We did a wonderful graduation. We really got to really celebrate them. And so the person I spoke with from class of 76 is very excited about this. And we're going to work together to try to celebrate the classes. It's a particularly important year, 76, right? 250 years in the country, but also this class is 50 years out of Littleton. And so they wanted to do something special. They wanted to rent a bus and go around the town and see all the schools they went to. And they obviously it's a different high school than they were at in 1976. But so I think there's a huge opportunity. I appreciate you bringing up the club for us to connect. We have so many accomplished alumni that we know of, but there's a lot of them. I hear with how successful they are in terms of just their careers. It's really an untapped resource for us, and aside from just what the benefits they might bring coming back, it's just good for the overall community to see, for our current students to see where this kid or this person who started out just like you, look where they are now, and it can provide inspiration to our current students. So we'll get going on that alumni club.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thank you.
Good. All right, next presentation is the proposed draft calendar 26-27. On the way to the podium, Director of Teaching and Learning, Elizabeth Steele, who will present proposed 26-27 school year calendar. This has a potential motion to adopt the calendar as well.
Like we need a drum roll. This is an exciting part every year, right?
Always makes me really happy.
I got that feeling. It's an exciting evening. So we have for you this evening, the proposed 26-27 school year calendar. Like in years past, we do try to mirror a lot of what we've done from the previous year for the sake of consistency. But when we learn about things and we learn how to do things better, we try and make that happen too. So you will notice that a lot of it is mirrored. However, there is, I think this was already noted at a previous school committee meeting, Labor Day is really late next year, being on September 7th. So then when you look at the end of the year, it feels like we're getting out really late in comparison to the past year or two. It's the 180th day would be June 21st, barring no snow days. The 18th is Juneteenth, so we would have to have that day off. So it would be a 3-day weekend coming back for that final day of school. For that, we do acknowledge that Yom Kippur is going to be a day off from school. It falls on a Monday, while Diwali falls on a weekend. And so we will not have a day off from school on that one for next year. A couple items to note with regards to differences. We shifted conferences back a week. So looking at November, we know November is always a tricky month with Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, Election Day, and then we've added Conference Day in there. And so we initially were considering having it on the 13th, but that just really makes the week of the 9th very choppy with 2 days in school, a day off, a day in, a day off for students. So push that back. It does make November's choppy. It does make it that way, but we try to provide as much consistency in a choppy manner as we could. So that is the November. We are also, if you look at April, so we try to spread out our professional development days. And what we have done historically is usually it's one a month is what it ends up being. A couple months have 2. If you look at April, you'll see none. What we decided was to push it earlier because of the way April 1st fell on a Thursday. If we were to have April 7th as that early release day, that actually is where an MCAS window starts, and a lot of our schools run MCAS during those days. And so it's actually really important and helpful to have a consistent full week that week. So we put it into March, which is why you'll see 2 early release days in March, none in April. And then also lastly, to point out that we are proposing we go back to Wednesdays as our early release days for professional development. 2 major reasons here. One is for consistency for families, so they can keep having all of our early release days. They know it's a Wednesday. And secondly, attendance of both students and staff has proven that when we have early release days on Wednesdays, they are better well attended than when we have early release days on Fridays. And so for the educationally sound reason, we are proposing that those days go back to Wednesday early release days as opposed to Fridays. I think that provides all of the context and points out the differences between this year's calendar and what we're proposing for next year. Excuse me.
Thank you for covering that with us. Anybody have any questions, comments about the proposed 26-27 school year?
I think curiosity, do you think that a Monday would be better than a Friday? Just thinking that I think some parents have like a hybrid schedule, right? So you know, a day that's next to a weekend. My thought with that is that I know talking to some teachers, their concern with Friday is that obviously at the end of the week, there's also just not an opportunity to enact whatever you. So if you do a Monday, theoretically you could then enact it the rest of the week. That's something you would consider. I'm not necessarily saying this year, just to do this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is something that we have discussed at the table. I think could it be better attendance wise than Friday? It could be. It's still attaching it to a weekend, so we'd have to test it out and collect the data on that, like we did for the Fridays. I think for the sake of being able to come in, start the week, and then you have your early release, your PD middle of the week. You then have 2 days to kind of turn around, implement something before going into the weekend. Has worked, but I wouldn't be closed off to the idea or try something else.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And consistency is the other the key thing too on it, right? So doing a mix of like Wednesdays and Fridays, we've seen can be difficult, right? And so if we do Mondays instead of Fridays, are we doing all Mondays or all Wednesdays, mix of them, right? So that consistency is the other piece to bring in there.
Makes sense.
Anybody else?
I'll say I've just gotten used to it. You know, the no school November tagline, it's tough. Like November's a tough month. There's kind of just a way around it. The beginning, there's like a lot of color at the beginning of the school, but I get it. I like the fact that the back to school nights are so early in the year. I think on here it becomes okay, so it's further down in terms of what school is what back to school night. And the key on the first page, oh, that's okay. Mine doesn't show up as red and green on my device, but it does on yours, so that's fine. I love April.
So do we.
Yeah. I mean, the staff and the students might not because it's an MCAS testing block. I mean, I'll just, I'll say it is what it is. Like the district's got a commitment to professional development. I think we do a good job with it. It does become difficult for the families, especially in that pre-K or K-5 environment where those children often can't be left alone and it's smack dab in the middle of the week. And, I understand the benefit of it. And, but I feel for those parents having been one recently, sort of aging out of it. I know it's tough for those families. And I'll just say, for the record, like it is the same way this year, like January 4th, the week that we come back from school vacation week will be our 5th full week of school. So we'll have gone what feels like half the year and only had 4 full weeks of school. I don't know what the right number of PD days is. It's in the contract. We can't do much about it, but there's a ton of starts and stops between the holidays that we celebrate and the professional development, and the federal holidays as well. It's tough to get some consistency going, but the tagline is, it is what it is.
Yes. Elaine has her hand up as well, just.
And I'll just say, there's nothing that can be done about it, but it's a bummer to have to come back for June 21st. Granted, our next leadership will probably have the benefit of calling a couple snow days, so it won't matter, but we'll be coming back for, what feels like probably 2 or 3 days of cleanup and that type of stuff. So, it's like we have 180 days and we only have so much time. The curriculum is so rigorous and we got to get ready for MCAS and we're trying to make academic improvement. And then when you start to chip away at all these days, it's like, maybe we have 150 days to learn. I don't know. It becomes tough. I'm not saying like that I, want the kids in school learning 6.5 hours a day for 180 days, but it's a balancing act and I struggle with it personally. Elaine?
Yeah, I actually have a much more granular question. It's not as philosophical, but I'm looking at that half day in May that is on a Friday, and I understand it gives us a longer weekend for Memorial Day, but was it seems like that breaks the pattern of consistency with the early release days on Wednesday. So kind of was wondering what the thought process was behind that one.
I'll let Beth answer, but that's been the pattern year over year over year. So I think the approach is we've always taken that Friday as a PD day. So that is consistent year over year.
Right, consistent with year to year, but now that we're, there was a consistent approach this year with not having some on Wednesday and some on Friday and trying to create the consistency on Wednesday. You know, back to your point, Justin, about the hardship on families with these early release days, I think it's easier for families to have a consistent day if they are going to have to arrange childcare. So just was wondering if it was considered to do that early release day on the 26th instead of the 28th in the sake of consistency on Wednesdays.
It is, I mean, certainly something we can consider. It's not, I don't think there would be objection from the administrator or the educator side on that. It is something, even when we've done all Wednesday early release days, we have still had that one day as the Friday since we have started this type of schedule and done these days. It has been that way, which is not a good excuse to keep it. I'm fully aware of that and want to put that out there, right? Just because that is how it has been done is not the good reason to keep it there. But I think it is kind of a nod to end of year acknowledgement, the weekend, tying it to a particularly long weekend. It's a bit of kind of that nod to that. But certainly if we want to adjust it to have that even be a Wednesday, I think
that one is a PD day, but the Thanksgiving Wednesday is not. Is that right? The Thanksgiving Wednesday is that.
So Beth, do we have any data about attendance on that Friday PD day in May? Does attendance drop off because it's ahead of a long weekend, or has it not been identified as a problem?
Whenever we've collected data on the Friday PDs has a higher absenteeism rate for both staff and students.
Yeah, I mean, because I wonder if it's an even higher problem on that particular day because that creates a 4-day weekend.
Depends on the year. But yes, it certainly is a higher absenteeism day.
Janine?
Are you done on me?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
Okay, sorry. Since you brought up the half days and families, that was one of the things that I bring to the table is I went to school in a different state, and I'm going to admit that when I first was introduced to all the half days, I kind of went into shock. But I understand what they are. Has the town, the district, or any groups ever sat down and said, can we offer support to families through clubs? I know we have Tigers Den, and if you're lucky to get into it, that works. But like Justin, I struggled, and and I don't know if it's our place as a district. If it's something that we want to ask the town and Park and Rec, but a way to say to families, yeah, so we have professional development, and when your students are leaving school at hours that maybe you don't usually have help, there are these resources. And that's probably like a whole other agenda item or some other, but if we want to have that discussion, I'd really be interested.
Well, there are already things happening with Park and Rec. We've partnered with them for years, and they've been very good about offering various activities during our afternoons. Repeat. Are we going to capture everybody? No. It's an impossible ask, but I think Park and Rec does a pretty good job of taking this opportunity to offer programming, which is a benefit to their entity as well. So they work really closely with us. And Tigers Den, I mean, it's nice that we offer that program. I know a lot of districts that don't, or they hire an agency to do it for them. So I think between the combination of Park and Rec and ourselves, we're doing a pretty good job. I mean, there's always things that we could potentially look at. But personally, I feel, I have children myself. We do a pretty good job of helping families out in those situations.
It's been a minute since I had this problem, but it obviously left some marks. So thanks.
That's a great comment. It's something that we need to continue to review. These programs are intact. We have a close working relationship with Park and Rec, but perhaps it's time that we do some type of audit in terms of, where were we 5 years ago, and where are we now, and how do we feel about, one of our goals being met, our primary goal, and that is providing opportunities for our students and helping families out at the same time during those days for afternoons.
Absolutely wonderful. Thanks.
Given what needs to be accomplished here, I think you guys did a great job. I really do. I've studied it.
I did nothing.
There's no like, we have a week vacation and we come back and we still have a half day the following week, which I think we ran into this year.
Yeah.
We're really not gonna ask for data. I feel like that, like you have the data ready, like Justin.
I mean,
Well, we've had this conversation and I want to be prepared so that you have the information to make the decision tonight, because I know this is important for families too, for forward planning.
Yeah, no,
right?
100%.
They're starting to think about the fall already and all of these things and having to set up childcare and making sure that these things are arranged and whatnot. But speaking of data, Elaine, when I just checked what the Fridays that I had in front of me, and it really does flip flop depending on the year. So some years, the Memorial Day Friday is the highest absentee for staff. And not the highest absentee day Friday for students, and then flip-flopped for another year. So it really is not consistently the most absent Friday when we do have any Friday early release days. I just wanted to follow up on that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm really impressed that you're able to pull that data up on the fly like that. That's helpful information. Thanks.
I feel like I'm being set up, like everybody's in on this coup that there's data that I don't know about. But I've looked at the data before, so I'm comfortable with it. And Elaine, to your point about the 28th being a Friday, like that's the one that I'm sort of most comfortable with, because I realize that families that are going into a 3-day weekend and they have maybe a single parent household or a dual employment household or whatever, that's probably the one they can get away with, right? Picking their kids up early on a Friday because we're going into a long weekend. It's like the unofficial start of summer. And I get the consistency thing on Wednesdays. I think it's like a huge lift to try to get these all to Fridays, and I can't do it myself. So it is what it is. And I think you guys did a great job with what we need to get done. So is there a motion to accept the calendar?
So moved.
Motion made by Sean, seconded by Bino. This will be a roll call vote. Bino,
No, I'm.
Sean, Elaine,
Elaine Sandelman, aye.
Dustin McCarthy votes aye, and Janine
Janine,
carries 5-0. Great job. Thanks so much.
thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Beth.
I'll give you a round of applause.
That's right.
For a while. All right, our third presentation this evening is the NASDAQ SPED Trends Report. So Dr. Snow, Director of Student Services, will provide a quick overview. Is it NASDAQ? Is that how do you use that all together?
Yes,
Okay. The NESDEC.
the New England School Development.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Okay, so tonight's presentation will be just a brief overview of special education trends. And NASDAQ provides a free benchmarking report, which is great. And the intent behind it is to provide context and to share information as we think about planning for staffing and also for sustainability. So tonight I'll share a high-level overview of special education trends in Littleton Public Schools over the past 5 years. So the report was prepared using district-provided data. It's intended to help stakeholders understand enrollment patterns, cost trends, and placement decisions over time. I definitely want to extend a big thank you to Tina Averso, Margaret Deslitz, and Steve Mark, because they compiled the raw data that was used to generate the report. Tina is our administrative assistant for student services, and she holds the wheels on the truck and is amazing. And so she is really the nebulous of this to make sure that our data is always accurate. And Margaret Deslitz is the student services liaison. She oversees out of district placements, homeschool and privately placed students, and she supervises our related service providers. And you all know Steve, our fantastic business manager, who gave us the numbers about the money. So the key takeaway I want to emphasize is that it's not a snapshot of a single year, it's a trend analysis. It helps us understand how strategic decisions made over time are influencing both student outcomes and our fiscal sustainability. And so also keep in mind that this report gives us context, but it's our values, our staff expertise, and our legal responsibilities that actually guide our decisions. And so the areas of focus continue to promote our obligation to educate students in the least restrictive environment alongside their peers and in their home community. And Massachusetts has continued to emphasize inclusive practices, educating students with disabilities alongside non-disabled peers whenever appropriate. Inclusive practices, universal design for learning, positive behavior intervention supports, and social emotional learning have also been promoted to help districts tailor instruction and behavioral support in inclusive settings. And so also, in addition, Massachusetts really does continue to prioritize early childhood services, emphasizing smooth transitions from early intervention to preschool and into kindergarten. So when we look at this first slide, it's the number of students on IEPs. And so our report focuses on trends, not judgments, and it's not a compliance audit, it's not a program evaluation, and it's also not prescriptive. So the trends don't drive decisions on their own, but they do help us plan responsibly. So this slide shows the number of students on IEPs across 3 groupings, pre-K to grade 8, grades 9 through 12, and then also the total number of students on IEPs across the district. I also inserted a table that gives us our total enrollment based on our October 1st enrollment report for the past 5 years, so you can do a little bit of comparison. And so overall, we see that special education enrollment had a slight peak in the 23-24 school year with a total of 305 students on IEP. Since that time, the number stabilized. It has begun to decline slightly, with projections showing approximately 283 students for the 25-26 school year. It's also important to think about a few of these years were pandemic related. So we saw a little bit of elevation, and there's been some fluctuation in our total enrollment as well. So like one thing that you might have noted when Dr. Harrington was talking about graduates. So we had in school year 23, we had 1,700 students, but that was a lower number of graduates. So we had a lower graduating class that year, but larger classes overall. So another important point of context is that Littleton is a small district, as I was talking about, and as a result, relatively small numerical changes can appear more significant when displayed graphically. So for example, a shift of 5 to 10 students can meaningfully move a trend line, even though that level of fluctuation is well within the range of what would be expected as normal variation for a district our size. That's why it's especially important to look at these data over multiple years rather than focusing on a single year increase or decrease. So when you view it longitudinally, the overall pattern reflects stabilization rather than volatility. And so the trend doesn't reflect reduced services or more restrictive eligibility practices. It reflects a combination of cohort movement, graduation at the secondary level, earlier identification and support at the younger ages, strong general education intervention, and inclusive practices. And so the key takeaway here is that special education enrollment is currently stable and predictable, considering how special education is the most fluid and unpredictable thing in a public school district. But that allows the district to plan for staffing and programming responsibly while continuing to meet student needs. So can you move on to the next slide? So this slide looks at, it compares the total general education expenditures with total special education expenditures over the past 5 years. And so as you can see, general education spending continues to increase steadily, while special education spending has remained relatively stable, even showing a slight decrease in recent years. But I want to be really clear that increased general education spending does not reflect an overemphasis on general education at the expense of special education. Rather, it highlights a deliberate and appropriate investment in strong tier 1 and tier 2 programming. When general education programming is well resourced through high quality instruction, intervention, and student support, special education is no longer the only pathway for students with disabilities to receive meaningful support. students can access services earlier, more flexibly, and in less restrictive ways through Title I, through student study teams, through intervention, our win blocks, all of those things that Beth talks about very frequently are what really strengthen our whole multi-tiered system of support. And so this approach aligns with best practice and with the intent of IDEA, which emphasizes access to the general education environment whenever appropriate. It also reduces the need for students to rely solely on special education as the primary mechanism for support. And Beth and I work really closely together and philosophically endeavor to blur that line between general education and special education, because that really is the ultimate goal of universal design for learning. And so the result is a system where students receive the right level of support at the right time, and where special education remains available and robust for students who require it without it becoming the default or the only option. And from a fiscal and programmatic standpoint, this balance allows the district to meet diverse student needs while maintaining sustainability and flexibility over time. Go to the next slide. And so this slide just visualizes the same data using a trend line, which makes the story even clearer. So the general education trend line continues upward, reflecting normal inflationary pressures, staffing, and programming growth. And in contrast, the special education trend line is flat to slightly declining, which is, I will say, is a bit atypical when compared to peer districts, but also keep in mind here that we are a small district. And so the fiscal landscape can change significantly year to year for us, because there's a lot of variables that can influence that and cause a change in great magnitude. Age outs, move-ins, things like that. But this current stability reflects long-term intentional planning, particularly investments in staff expertise in district programming and proactive service delivery that reduces reliance on out-of-district placements. And so the next slide does talk about focuses on trends in outside special education placements, including both the number of students placed out of district and the associated costs over time. So overall, there has been a decrease. Our total outside placements dropped from 27 students in the 21-22 school year to an estimated 17 students for 25-26. The decline is most notable in grades 9 through 12, where the number of outplaced students fell by about half, from 20 students to 10 over the same period of time. So as these data show, there has been a steady decrease in both the number of outside placements, overall spending, with the number of students placed out of district declining over the past 5 years. And so I want to be very clear that this trend is not accidental, nor is it driven by a desire to limit services. It reflects intentional long-term work to bring the expertise we need into Littleton so that we can build the capacity of our in-district programming. So over time, the district has invested in specialized staff, professional development, and programmatic design to ensure that we can support a broader and more diverse range of learners within our school. And this is a necessary and responsible strategy as the Littleton community does continue to grow in its diversity, including differences in learning profiles, disability types, language, culture, and social emotional needs. And so from an educational standpoint, supporting students in district when it's appropriate allows them to remain connected to their peers and to their community, and to learn in less restricted environments. From a system standpoint, it allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively when students do need support. So the most important message to convey here, particularly in a public school setting, is that we do welcome all learners. Our goal is to ensure students with diverse needs are not sent elsewhere simply because a program does not exist yet, but rather that we continue to grow and adapt our programming to meet the needs of the community that we serve. And so outside placements do remain an important part of the continuum and will always be used when they're educationally necessary. However, the data reflects a district that's increasingly able to say, we can support this student here, which is both an equity-driven and educationally sound outcome. Next slide. And so this slide breaks down two related but distinct categories, which is our traditional outside placements and collaborative placements. And so while both categories show downward trends, with the most significant reduction occurring in traditional outside placements, our collaborative programs remain a cost-effective, high-quality alternative. They're in closer to local communities. They're a good alternative when in-district programming is not appropriate, or if a district doesn't have a critical mass or enough of a cohort to sustain developing a program. So we're a member of CASE Collaborative, so there's a number of neighboring communities. And so while we don't have enough of a critical mass to build out a strand of therapeutic programs at this point. CASE has really helped kind of meet that need. And so we have programs out of CASE Colebrook and Acton that we have students that are able to access still inclusive opportunities within Acton Boxborough High School. We have 2 CASE programs that we house at Russell Street and at the middle school as well. And so we still continue to use collaboratives strategically, even if it's not CASE collaborative, we're able to access other collaboratives that are in neighboring communities as well. And so this allows us to use a full continuum of placements very thoughtfully. It avoids a reactive or crisis-driven decision, and it really helps us prioritize sustainability. And so the last slide, the final slide brings together all of the key themes from the report and helps us frame how we're thinking about special education in Littleton now and moving forward. It's also my favorite slide because it's so aesthetic. And that's not thanks to me, it's thanks to Notebook LM, which is an AI tool that Julie Lord has introduced us to. So it's like beta testing infographics, which I really love. And it was nice because I had the report, I had the data, and I was able to see that the infographic it created is actually accurate. And so anyway, overall, these data reflect a system that's stable, intentional, closely monitored, trends in enrollment, expenditures, and placements. They're not viewed in isolation or on a single year basis. We review them continuously over time to ensure that we're responding appropriately to student needs. And we also maintain alignment with best practice and our regulatory expectations. And so from a fiscal perspective, we have demonstrated responsible stewardship of public funds in an area that's often unpredictable and rapidly escalating in cost. Just this year, I think we've received probably 3 or 4 letters from out of district placements that are applying to the state for more than expected increases in tuition, which can really significantly affect a budget. So anyway, we guide our decisions first by educational need with cost considerations addressed through thoughtful planning. And so the trends shared this evening reflect a district that's increasingly able to deliver high quality services within our own schools, reducing reliance on overly restrictive placements, but with an ability to use them when they're educationally necessary. And that's another point I want to make too, when we're making very fiscal sound decisions that build economies of scale within a district, it also allows us to really provide programming for students where we aren't able to meet their needs in district and be able to place them in programs that are able to do that. And so this balance is a direct result of a sustained investment in the programming, the people that we employ, and the systems that exist. And so we continue to look forward to more capacity building. As the student population we serve evolves, so too must the skills and expertise of our special educators. We will continue to strengthen the practices of our special educators through professional development, more refinements to program design, and recruiting staff with very specialized skill sets so that our services align with the actual needs of the students in our classrooms, not just historical models of service delivery. And this ongoing work ensures that Littleton remains responsive, inclusive, and prepared, and able to support a diverse range of learners while maintaining educational quality and fiscal sustainability. So ultimately, in the very variable landscape of special education, stable trends tell the story of a district that's not standing still, but one that's thoughtful, adaptive, and committed to welcoming and supporting all learners. So with that, I thank the school committees continue to support. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for the presentation. Very interesting. Questions or comments from the school committee? Sean?
Yeah, great presentation. Just wondering, as the newer person on the school committee, what is the process to decide if someone stays in the district or not?
The team process. So everything for students with special education is driven by an IEP team, which is comprised of all of the service providers who support and service the student, the parent, and if the child is in the year they're turning 14 or 14 and older, they're part of that team too, and encouraged to attend the meetings and be that voice at the table as well.
Thank you.
I think it's important to state that we have always, as a district, been a firm believer that we will find ways to educate every student, and at times that's not in our district. So we've never been a proponent of keeping students in our district if we can't meet their needs. And I think that's an important statement. The decline in out-of-district placements is a result of families wanting to come back in our district because of the programs that we created. And that's not real common at this point in time. So the data may seem normal to you. As a superintendent, I can certainly tell you that it's not that normal. Spent out-of-district placements are typically increasing districts. What's happening is we are all school districts in Massachusetts and beyond are having students come into our district that have more needs, not less needs. And thank goodness we have collaboratives that we belong to, private placements, etc., so that we have those resources to meet the needs of our students. It's not like that at every state. And I really am proud to be part of a Massachusetts educational system, because they truly not only talk the talk, they walk the talk in terms of making sure that districts have opportunities to send students that we don't have the critical mass to give them a solid top-notch education and send them to places that have like peers, etc. So this is something that doesn't happen overnight. This has been years in its making. And how long it will go, I don't know. But what I take away from this when I look at the data is we've made some pretty strong partnerships with families that have had to have their students or children more correctly out of district. And we are to the point now that they're asking us that to bring their students back or children back because they feel that we have the program we need to meet their children's needs. So it's quite impressive. And Lynn deserves a lot of credit for this. Prior to Lynn's time, that demographic shift you're seeing wasn't in existence in our district. And it's cyclical to a certain degree, because I don't want to stand here with tons of confidence and say that line's going to stay where it is and where it's going to go down, because sooner or later it's going to go back up. But that's because we won't be able to meet some of our students' needs that are in our district or are moving into our district in the future.
I also want to thank Dr. Clenchey, because he's also open to kind of creative out of the box thinking too, where there's been a lot of collaboration with local other special ed directors where they've reached out. We've tuitioned students into our district because we have a program that meets their need and it helps round out a cohort that we have. But then conversely, we've also been able to have a student supported in another public school district where we're able to tuition them in because we don't have that particular program or can't make that need, but it keeps a student in a less restrictive environment. So that's also been something that we've been able to do in both directions, which has been really great and successful.
I'm glad you guys brought that up, because it's wonderful that there's been this shift in continuing to educate Littleton residents in that, right? This is their hometown. This is where they chose to live. What better place to be educated than your hometown? I'm glad you made the point that some needs are we've evaluated that they're too extreme to be best served with an out of district placement. But if we can do it and we can create an efficient manner to do so, it's sort of the best of both worlds. I was curious about just the trend on IEPs in general, because you have some data here. So when I was looking at the numbers, there's projected to be 283, 25, 26, or 4/13 of them, the high school is not in the high school. So it's like there's more IEPs in the K-8 environment, which I think makes sense. So not for tonight, but I was just kind of curious because I'd like to learn more about it, is almost like a rolling IEP schedule. So, right, like some students show up very early on, maybe they've been referred to the district, early intervention, they immediately go on IEPs.
Yep.
Others get identified as they sort of work through the curriculum and challenges and things like that. And we had a very passionate presentation by Mike Jarvis about the hard work that's being done. And people essentially, they graduate from their IEP, they're without it, and it's sort of just general enrollment at that point in time. So I was just kind of curious to see, to applaud the efforts of the staff, but just also out of curiosity is, do we have any trends as to when the students are identified in needing an IEP and when they come on, and what work is being done and when did it come off an IEP? I don't know if it's of interest to anybody else, but I think that data would be pretty neat to look at, because it's not by accident, right, that they come on and go off. It's, the parents advocating for the child, and it's the school listening, and it's the hard work that's being done in school and at home and all that good stuff. And of course, some IEPs, by the nature of them, you're not going to come off of one because, whatever it might be, it's just sticks with you. So again, it's just like food for thought.
Yep.
Your very interesting presentation made me think through that. So
Yeah, we do. I mean, an IEP is just that. It's individualized. So we have some students that come in from early intervention. They're on an IEP. Some of them are on an IEP for 1 year and 2 years, and then they're off an IEP. There's some students that come in from early intervention and they're on an IEP from the age of 3 to the age of 22. There are some students that are on IEPs for 10, 12 years. But also another consideration to keep in mind is that the prescription of services in the grid of the IEP can vary in range. So there could be a student that has a very kind of dense, we refer to it, grid with a lot of services and supports in the inclusive environment, which is like the mainstream general education setting, and they might receive a number of speech therapy or related services or occupational therapy, and sometimes that can taper down, but then sometimes needs change over time. An IEP is not static, and that's the other thing to really keep in mind too, is that IEPs themselves can change and be amended even within the course of a year. So if new information comes or a student is struggling at a particular time, the team is always able to come back together and revisit that IEP and make a change in services in response to data, whether it be benchmark testing or a particular change, or if students experiencing mental health challenges and they have an emotional disability. There's so many different reasons and justifications. And yes, do we love to celebrate when a student transitioned off an IEP? Absolutely. But we also can celebrate the successes of a student who is on an IEP for every year of their school career equally.
yeah, well said. Pretty upset. Elaine, don't want to leave you out.
Yep, no, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Great.
That was a great presentation, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That rounds out the presentation for the evening. We've got 2 orders of old business, first of which is school committee scheduled presentation for 2/26/26 meeting. This will be led by Superintendent Clenchey and the school committee to discuss the upcoming presentations. I'll foreshadow this, that there were some possible agenda items on our scheduled for tonight, and I think Superintendent Clenchey wishes to share those with us. Get some feedback as to what the school committee would like to hear, so that we can have a really robust meeting on 2/26. So without any further ado, Jordan, take it away.
Thank you. This doesn't happen very often, but with these 2 particular topics in our district, we spent a lot of time and invested a significant amount of money and training our staff to move forward with UDL and the portrait of a learner. So when I looked at our presentation schedule this year, there were a number of times scheduled during the year that we're going to do updates on these 2 areas. And during our summer retreat, we had a great conversation about a balance between presenting and conversation. So I thought it was important at this time in the year, since this is a repeat agenda item for UDL and Portrait of a Learner, that we take the time to have a conversation as a committee as a whole, which is really important, because my job and the leadership team desire is to make sure that we meet your needs in terms of the depth of the presentation that you would like. We don't want to come in and give you a 50-minute presentation if you're looking for a 5-10 minute presentation and you'd rather just have a conversation. So having said that, I'm open and we're open to what would you like to hear? First of all, let's talk about universal design for learning. Something we've talked about for a number of years in the district. We continue to move forward with it. So it's important that the school committee sees the implementation process that we're using, going from point A to point B to point C, etc. Both of those initiatives are multi-year implementations. They're not something that can be done in a year. And we're taking the necessary time to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. And, thinking back after being here 15 years, if you even consider 4 initiatives a year, which is probably low, that's 60 initiatives in 15 years. It's a lot, and there's more. So I think it's a good opportunity for us, since I'm going to be going on to my next journey, and you're going to be bringing in a new leader, to really think about long-term goals. 60 initiatives are huge. And I'm pretty confident in saying that most of those, I'd say all of those initiatives had an impact. Some of them have dropped off because they've become part of the culture. But we have to ask ourselves, since we're in a time in education where we expect a lot of our professionals. We expect a lot of our leaders, expect a lot from our educators. Eventually, we need to come to terms with what kind of balance should we be creating as leaders around this table in our district. The curriculum implementations at the elementary level have been quite intensive over the years, and huge mindset shifts for our staff. So I thought this is the best opportunity for us to kind of sit down and have a conversation. Having said that, UDL and Port of the Learner are key initiatives, and in my opinion and our leadership team's opinion, they are making a difference in our district, and they will continue to do so. So having said that, I just want to get an idea of what you would like, committee, for our next presentation. Do you want a 10-minute presentation?
I can I can kick it off, and then I'm happy, I think this is awesome. Like, this is great. This is what school committee is all about, right? It's just dialogue among members and the administration about school initiatives. So Kelly, for me, the emphasis is really in that first sentence of the school committee's mission statement, which is continuous improvement. So what I would like to hear about it with these 2 initiatives is, what have we done over the last, 180 school days with the PD and the instruction, and how have we moved these initiatives forward? What's different now versus when we heard it last? And when you're brand new on the school committee, it's like you hear the top, you get the presentation, you're like, wow. But when you've heard it 3 or 4 times, you're like, yeah, I'm familiar with this. I know the acronyms. I know what this is all about. And with the mission statement and the emphasis on continuous improvement, it would just be, let's not go from the beginning, because the new school committee members can always watch the presentation from last year. And I would encourage us all to do so that when we hear the presentations next meeting, we're sort of all the way up to speed. And then we can hear from the district about what's taken place to move us further along. And we can hear, examples, evidence of the PD that's taken place and the impact that's had on the classroom and within the curriculum and the like. So that's where I come from. We don't have to go all the way back to 0. Talk about what we've done. Janine?
I like that idea of improvements, and to add to it a little bit. A suggestion is maybe we can talk about it through different filters. We heard tonight that our community is concerned about are we serving all the members of our school community? Do we have equity in what we're presenting, how we're presenting it? And are we building a good understanding of the world and the diversity of the world within our school district and within our student body, sorry. Maybe that's one of the filters we could apply to the material to kind of like focus us a little bit. Does that make sense?
Well, both those initiatives are designed to do just that. So it should be very hard to do. I mean, those tie-ins are important. Yeah, I mean, that's what we would do anyway. I mean, I'm glad we're having this conversation. The portrait of a learner, and I've said this before, I mean, if it's done well, I believe it will most likely replace our strategic plan. Because we should all be striving for every student in our district to actualize the key components of a portrait of a learner. And it'll be nice to have one driving force that meets the needs of our students. So that's my hope. And we probably won't be at that point in time by June, but I'm sure somebody will report back to me when we are at that point in time, because I think that was one of the reasons I was so excited about going into this venture and giving it a huge amount of time and training to our staff to get where eventually at that point. UDL, I mean, UDL is meeting the needs of students.
Make sure you save some of this for next meeting.
Well, I can maybe do the presentation now and get out of here.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Your next meeting.
No, I don't want to cut you off, but we're gonna cover all of this.
Yeah.
Next meeting. So don't feel the pressure to respond to every single one.
Okay.
You need clarification. You don't, you can cover this next meeting.
Yeah, so.
Elaine, do you have anything specific to the UDL or portrait of a learner that you would like to make sure is included in the conversation next meeting?
Yes, actually, I was the one that was pushing for this, so I wanted to add some clarity to the conversation for what I was looking for.
Sure.
So Kelly, to your point, we are on the same page. If you do 4 new initiatives over the course of your years here, 15 years, that would be 60 initiatives. None of us want that. We want sustained improvement with large initiatives that, you can build momentum, you can get staff on board. I think that's what we all want. So specifically, I mean, I've been excited about UDL. I've been excited about Portrait of a Learner. And I was looking at, excuse me, the next steps from the superintendent evaluation last spring, when you had also, excuse me, you had prioritized UDL and Portrait of a Learner. So I referenced back to that to see, what were the things that we had talked about to be a priority for this year. For UDL, it was the walkthroughs that you were going to be doing with building administrators to see, to start to gather some data about how UDL is being implemented in the schools. And then for Portrait of a Learner, we had talked about as a next step for schools that they would start to develop some goals around their next steps. So this is, in recognition of the fact that these are large initiatives that take multiple years to get traction with, but at the same time, we don't want to just brush it off and say, well, this is really big. We haven't completed it yet, so we're going to wait until it's done before we hear about it. So, in the spirit of that conversation that we had at the summer retreat, where we were talking about wanting to have conversations as much as hearing presentations of things that have been completed. So that's why I had pushed for it to be on the presentation calendar. We are, for me anyway, I'm not looking for completion. I'm looking for where are we mid-year on these very important initiatives. We don't want to take our eye off the ball. Would love to hear the incremental progress and the steps that you're taking to measure that progress. So if you could come with, just some anecdotal information from the walkthroughs, that would be very interesting. Some information from the schools about their progress on their goals for Portrait of a Learner. That would be a really good mid-year check-in, I think, on where we are with these initiatives that we all had identified as priorities in the district.
Great, thank you, Elaine. Sean or Vino, anything to add?
Yeah, so, let me start with Portrait of a Learner. I think we have spent some meetings talking about sort of what it is and the content. I think what would be really great, at least as a refresher, is to Elaine's point, sort of zoom out. I'd love to hear about like the process that got us here, because I think we've sort of alluded to it, but we more talk about what it is and where we are, but like the different groups that were a part of it, or the stakeholders, or the, like what got us to this point. And then I'm curious what the process is going forward, and maybe what we envision it will look like when it's implemented. It's not in detail, because obviously that is in the future, but it helps to sort of frame the content in that bigger picture, for me at least, and then go into what the content is, because I will then look at it with that lens and that context. That should maybe have more poignant questions. And then for UDL, but also Portrait of a Learner, but I'll say this specifically for UDL, and just, the comments earlier in open session, but also just the engagement of the community in Shaker Lane, in the superintendent search. I think this community wants to be involved, wants to know. And I don't know that the parents necessarily know what UDL is. If I asked them soccer game, if people know what UDL was, I don't think a lot of them do. So I would just be curious if we want to think about, or if the district wants to think about, communication. How do we sort of embed? Is it something that teachers talk about at conferences? I'm not necessarily thinking like parent education night, because I know what the turnout is for those things. Right. I think it's a great initiative, but it's sometimes difficult. But how do we sort of embed into sort of parent communication, bring parents in, so that this big initiative that the district is taking on, that educators are taking on, the families also know, and the parents know, and can appreciate it. Like, they can say the words UDL or the letters UDL, and they actually know what that means, and that's what their children, this priority exists in our district. So just a plan for that, or a thought around.
That's great. That's a great idea.
No obligation, but anything to add?
No, I think these are all really good comments.
Think you got the gist of it?
I do. This is very helpful, because we're going to having 4 principals and Beth and myself talking next meeting. We want to make sure that we're hitting the focus areas that you mentioned. It's not going to be a 10-minute presentation. I'm sure you know that. But we will try to.
I'm going to take the over on whatever the agenda says.
All right.
When we do this, are we gonna? Can we? Would it be the committee's preference to hear about one thing and then close that and then hear about the other one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that we don't kind of commingle these as we talk about all of them. So
Yeah, we can do that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you.
Great. Good stuff.
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
All right.
We're Steve.
Old business item number 2, the superintendent search update. Member Shauna Hearn will provide a brief update on the progress of the superintendent search.
Yep. So as of Monday, the application is officially open on February 2nd. It will stay open until February 27th. Elaine and I know members of central staff, and as well as Mask, did a lot of work on the brochure. And Elaine and I met with Mask a bit just to finish that up. He was in good shape. And then after everything closes on February 27th, the screening committee will reconvene on March 5th. We'll decide who we're going to interview based on the candidates we've seen. And we're going to decide what questions we'll ask. We need to have the same questions to all the candidates. And then through mid-March, we'll go through that process with the screening committee. And then from there, a slate will be recommended with 3 or 4 candidates to the full committee. I did send out a calendar, and I put it on everyone's calendar. figure we're putting on the conversation now and get ahead of it. Obviously, there isn't a lot going on in February, but there will be a lot going on, particularly in late March and April for the full committee. I just wanted to talk through the comfort level on things. Certain members we've discussed, have different things they wanted to accommodate, and I'm trying my best to do that. So,
Sean, could you share the brochure with us?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
That brochure is, I've seen it, it's great. Job well done, but where is it? Is it on the district's website? Is it on the, if you Google Massachusetts Superintendent job opening,
Yeah.
you'll find it?
You'll find it there.
Yeah.
Or is it being posted?
Yeah, Elaine can also speak to this, but I believe it's an ask, and then, is there just a general space where it's associated with some of the
Like
place?
school spring? Yeah.
Yeah, school,
They have another, a number of venues that they put it out at, so.
Yeah.
I can follow up on that.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to find it.
Okay, you want to walk us through this calendar? Because I had a couple questions about it.
Please. So I would say the green is not, certainly I wanted to educate you guys on what we're up to, but it's not something you guys need to participate in. But as I said, those are the, when we're picking semifinalists and we're interviewing them. I did want to highlight that if we only need 3 interview dates for, screening committee, then we could possibly do that special meeting on the 19th and for the Friday. Maybe I don't want that Friday, something else. If we do meet on the Friday, it would hopefully be, it doesn't, we haven't exactly discussed it, but hopefully it'd be virtual and maybe a little earlier in the night. At that point, we would hopefully accept the slate screening committee puts forward. I expect it to be a short meeting. From there, that last full week of March would be an opportunity for members to go visit districts where the applying superintendent candidates are coming from. And then that would continue on to the following weeks with a couple more visit dates. And then the 1st, 2nd, 6th, and 7th. So it's a Wednesday and a Thursday, and then a Monday and a Tuesday. We would have the finalists come into the district, do a day in the district. It would be a good portion of the day, and then at night we would interview each one. It'd be either 3 or 4 days. If we have 3 candidates or 4 candidates that end up being finalists. With that being said, since they're not being done the same night, I've already talked to Judy with LCTV, and they would be able to record everything for each night and then release it all at once. We do a gap between the interviews and the vote, without being able to have some time to think about things. If there's any input we wanted to have from the community, we could do that then. And then we could vote at a regularly scheduled meeting on April 9th. So that's when it's already been posted. People know it's out there. I like the idea of voting on that kind of a day. Open any questions.
I have the brochure if you want to see it. You want to see it?
Thank you. Yeah.
So so for the viewers at home, we've got a March, April calendar in front of us that Sean's put together. It's color coded. So essentially the application closes the 27th.
Correct.
And then on the 5th, the screening committee gets together and they are then going to, by midnight on the 5th, the screening committee is going to have identified the candidates that they wish to interview.
Correct. And select the questions we're going to ask.
Yeah.
Be uniform.
Okay. On the, you've highlighted here that on the 10th, 11th, and 12th, the 10th, 11th, and 16th, those are 3 possible dates for semifinalists to be interviewed by the screening committee.
Exactly. Possibly 19th as well.
Oh,
I'm not
possibly
sure.
19th.
I'm not sure about that. That's why I said if we don't need the 19th,
Yeah.
then we would just slide that hopefully optimistically acceptance meeting to the 19th. So I'm kind of assuming I'm having a meeting either way that way. But either way, we would finish accepting the slate that week, which would enable us to kind of move up a week, like previously discussed.
Okay. So from there, once your interviews are complete,
Yes.
you're gonna have 3, 4, or 5 candidates probably.
Yep.
To put forward to the school committee. The school committee is gonna meet for the sole purposes of accepting this roster.
Exactly.
We would have no reason to not accept it. We
Correct.
wouldn't have participated in any of this. So is it just a necessary formality?
Correct.
Okay, so that's a 10-minute virtual meeting.
Right. That's why I'm saying we do it virtual, do it at a reasonable time,
Okay,
knock it out, do it along.
yeah, so it's just really a formality. It's, hey, these are the names.
I mean, you can reject it if you choose to, if you happen to know something about someone or whatever, but I feel like
Yeah,
it's
I
better
suppose we
formality.
could, but yeah, we wouldn't have seen the applications at that point in time. We wouldn't have reviewed the resumes. We wouldn't have. Are your semifinalist interviews going to be televised?
They're not.
They're not. So
Yeah,
literally,
they're all
we have
executive
nothing
session.
but the names that show up on the board.
Exactly correct.
So, before that meeting, will we be able to like see their resumes, see their work histories, see?
I'm not exactly sure if I can confirm that.
Yeah.
My understanding is that, most of that information was private until we decide we want to meet them,
Right.
and that's kind of what developed.
Yeah, if it's a formality, I'm not, if it is what it is, I'm not suggesting that we skirt the issue here, but I'm just highlighting the fact
No, I
that
think
we
you're accurate.
won't have, we've charged this screening committee
Yeah.
with providing us finalists. I guess if we have to take a vote to accept the finalists, it is what it is, but it seems completely
Formality.
unnecessary. Yeah.
We have no choice but to vote yes.
So from that meeting, we accept them on the 20th per se.
Yep.
And then you've really got like the 24th, 27th, 30th, 31st, where you're basically suggesting that there's an opportunity for the 5 school committee members to then go visit the finalist district.
Correct.
And MCAS helps us set that up, and they're expecting us, and we meet with a dedicated pool of people that's been handpicked by the candidate to talk with us.
Yeah, masculine that. Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, can we back up 1 second? Did you
Please.
go through why this is on the 19th and it's not the 17th or 18th?
That was what the screening committee said they were.
Probably their availability.
Yeah, so they.
Yeah, because just on a Friday evening, it's a little, once you have to wait for us to vote to even reach out to them to say, can we visit you on Tuesday? It just doesn't seem like a lot of time.
So, no, that's fair. Speaking to Alicia, she seemed to think that because we weren't looking to meet, on the Monday, that would be enough time.
Okay.
That's just that, I'm going off of what she's telling me. But it's a fair point. Again, I'm hoping that we end up not meeting the 19th and we're able to accept the slate on the 19th instead of the 20th.
Right.
But I don't know that until we meet up. I'll know on the 5th.
Yeah.
But on the 5th, if you find out that there's only 3, couldn't we theoretically meet on the 17th?
We can meet, yeah.
You don't need the screening committee, it's just us.
Yep, you can meet whenever you want.
I'm just thinking to give you as much time as possible to schedule.
That's a great point.
screening.
I completely agree with that. Again, it's
That
gonna be a
makes
quick, yes.
Say that again on the what?
So if on the 5th, they decide they only have 3 semifinalists, couldn't we do our school committee special meeting on the 17th? March 5th,
We're gonna
they'll
know
decide
many
how many
days we're gonna-
finalists.
So we'll know how many days we need.
On March 5th, they're gonna pick the number of semifinalists.
Yes, and if it's 3 and not 4,
No, it should be
No,
like
it's
9.
Like 10. Doesn't matter. We're gonna stack those interviews on those days. We're not just interviewing.
They're gonna actually meet 9 people and then forward us 3 to 5.
Exactly.
Or whatever, 2 to 4, whatever. that
oh,
is, but-
so thinking that you'll need 4 days is why you
But
have
we
that
don't know,
many.
let's say only 8 people apply and you only want to set or something.
Uh-huh.
You're like, we don't know until
50
we see it.
people apply.
Right, we don't know until we see it. So that's why we're keeping the 4th day just to be safe.
But if you could do it in 3 days,
Happy to do that, believe me.
I see.
Right. And are those evening, daytime?
Evening.
Evening.
Yeah, so 5:30 to 7:30 roughly. It needs to go longer, it goes longer, right? We're meeting at Senator Shattuck in a smaller room, so everything's basically the executive session.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes it easier, so that way if we are interviewing, we will be multiple candidates on the same night. We don't have to see each other, we can have like a room, they can wait in and then orchestrate all of that.
Sure. So then we accept the slate, and then does MCAS strongly recommend that the school committee do district visits? Or is that sort of optional, or?
Vanessa said it's an option. I know that Elaine said that she wanted to, I think Regina didn't even mention she was interested as well. So that's why we built that weekend night.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if Elaine is able to speak to that, over that, I know that was something she was.
Elaine, you want to talk about the school committee district visits?
Yeah, I mean, Alicia from MASC says that some districts do it and some don't. So I was interested in doing it, but if that's clogging up the timeline, it's not absolutely necessary.
I would like to hear people, because we need to decide whether or not we want to do this or not. So, you know, she's saying some do, some don't. You built it into the calendar. In thinking through it, you know, perhaps a finalist is, you know, we're not able to visit their district, right? Maybe all of a sudden somebody's like 3 hours away, but they've got to, whatever, you know, they end up being a finalist and geographically we can't visit their district.
So,
Somebody's coming to Martha's Vineyard, like, we're not hopping on the ferry. And I also think that when you do that, you have to realize what's happening. So, you know, we're showing up announced, the red carpet gets rolled out, we're gonna meet with administration and leadership and parents and, you know, students and staff, and you're gonna hear nothing but 10 out of 10, 5 gold stars. So I actually, what I'm saying is I could go without that. If she says some districts do, some districts don't, I would be one to say, I don't think I need to do that.
yeah, I don't have strong feelings. I know Elaine did, so I respect
Yeah, I mean, let me push back against that a little bit.
Sure.
There's a whole protocol for doing this. Obviously, if the candidate is standing over someone they supervise while we're visiting them, we will only hear glowing things. But, you know, that's taken into account in the process, and the candidate would give us a tour of the district, introduce us to people, but then would not be part of the conversations. And there are certainly ways to get past the platitudes that someone would, you know, initially want to offer. You know, you can ask very specific questions and ask for examples, and you can suss out from that, you know, what the district's true feedback is about the candidate. So if there was only the expectation that you would hear platitudes, no one would do it. And the fact that many districts do the visits to the sending district means that, you know, it does have some value. So I think, but to your point, if it turns out that our finalists are not all local, I don't think it would be fair to visit any of the districts, because we really need to treat all of the finalists the same way. So if there was one we couldn't visit, then I would say we shouldn't visit any of them. But I think there was a lot of important information to gain by seeing what the district is like where they're currently working. So, but again, if it's going to clog up the schedule, that is the thing that I could let go of.
So in thinking this through, I think to be fair, I think we need to make that decision the date that we accept the slate, because we don't know who's on the slate. And we certainly don't want to make it a prerequisite that we can visit their district. For the screening committee, perhaps the best candidate, you know, we're not able to visit their district.
Right.
We don't have a travel budget to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So let's not make that decision now, is my suggestion. Let's
Yep.
wait until we get the slate, and then you're gonna say, hey, look, here are your 4 candidates that they recommend. Here are their districts. And at that point in time, we can say, yeah, this looks doable. We think there's consensus and it's worth it. Let's do it. Or given where these districts are, we can't do it.
I think that's fair. I think we do need to plan out what rooms we want to book out for the interviews. So do you want me to book out 2 scenarios, or how do you want me?
For the,
So like, if we were gonna get the benefit of not doing this first, meeting from a scheduling standpoint, you know, we moved up.
Right.
I've already booked out based on this, which is I'm happy to change. I'm just saying, do I need to book out basically based on 2 scenarios, or should I, because that room will be taken, right?
Can I just also add, like, in a logical standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. As a full-time employee of another job, I have
Also
blocked
logical.
off April 1st, 2nd, 6th, 7th. I can't also block off the whole week of the 23rd and like
Right.
just any planning ahead of March 5th is really helpful. I would really like to participate in this process, but it will then so last minute come down to me just coming in the evening interview.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we appreciate.
I mean, I think you're in a similar boat.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I didn't say it, but maybe that was like implied in like the fact that some of us work.
Yeah.
And, we're talking about like, if you guys are like, hey, there's 5 final candidates, they're all great, good luck. And we commit to going to 5 districts.
It'll be 3 to 4. But yeah. I'm not saying that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, still like 3 different visits.
4 days,
Yeah.
Right.
4 days for sure.
Well, and Justin, I don't know what you were thinking, but I cannot do the district visits. Like I've already told Sean this. I want to be present for our district visit, but that's already 4 whole days possibly. So I'm going to rely on everyone else bringing information back to me from the outside school district, but I wasn't going to participate in that because it's just too many days.
And that's not uncommon. And I think that needs to be a talking point with you as a group. Is it as effective if you have 2 people out of 5 or 3 out of 5 going to on-site visits? Are you going to come back with the same impressions that you would if you have 5 out of 5? That's something you need to figure out. I mean, I've been involved in a number of searches in my career, and this takes time. There's some value, as Elaine pointed out, but I think the value diminishes if you don't have the full committee.
So if we try to divide and conquer with Elaine doing 2 visits and Sean doing 1 and me doing 1, that isn't gonna have the desired input.
Well, you could, but you need to come up with a template in terms of what you're looking for, so that when you come back, you're gonna have some commonalities in terms of what you're gonna share.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
possible.
I understand, I appreciate that, and I understand, and I like, if it's either all of us or none of us, I appreciate that too, because I've never done this, so like, no.
And we go there before they come here.
Correct.
So we haven't met them yet.
Meet them then.
So we meet them the day of.
Well, the screening committee will have, so.
The screenings, but the school
Honestly.
committee. So to Kelly's point, like if 3 of us can go, 2 of us can go. 2 or 3 are gonna meet that individual that day. We're gonna, get sort of walk through what they want to walk us through. We'll have asked for certain things. Then we're gonna go visit somebody else, and it might be different people, and then each one of them, just to continue with the calendar, each one of them comes individually, spends a chunk of time in district, so we get an opportunity to interact with them, and then that evening, they interview with us. It's 1 interview. Correct.
So I mean, if we don't want to do the district visits, that's fine. I can move things up. I know we really did work quite considerably to get it so these dates work. People there too, so people are good with moving them. I get that too. People want to move them up.
Yeah, so I'll just share, like, so that I'm fine with anything, like whatever the committee decides you folks feel is best, that's good. But this is a very different approach, and maybe as it should be, than the town administrator position committee that I was on. Because that was the screening committee, looked at the applicants, looked at the resumes, interviews were booked. We invited 6 people in, 3 and 3 over 2 nights. We didn't go there. They just bang, bang, bang. 1 night later, bang, bang, bang. We talked about it afterwards and recommended 3 to the select board. So that's more of the subcommittee role anyways, but I'm just trying to think about, we're gonna see somebody on a Monday, and then somebody else on a Tuesday, and then maybe somebody else on a Thursday, and then we need to.
Well, can I ask a clarifying question about the district visits? You mentioned Elaine, Janine, right? That if like Elaine did 2 and Sean did 1 and Janine did 1, is that what we're potentially thinking, like splitting up people, or would it be like Elaine and Sean do all 4?
I can't profit.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of sounded like people were saying if we didn't all 5 show up, at the district for all of the people who are evaluating that it didn't have. the
No, but I'm saying
value.
if it's not all five, I'm
Okay.
trying to understand.
Yeah.
Is it that configuration of whoever can go to what, or is it the same two people will go to all four? Because I think both bring different things. If different people go to different districts, everybody has their own way and their own opinion. And you can't compare apples to apples. If Janine went to one and Sean went to one,
Yeah.
they're different people.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So-
That's the
I'm gonna let Elaine
person.
speak next.
Yeah, so I guess I was thinking if three people are gonna do all the visits, that's consistency.
Right.
Okay.
But if you're gonna do one, you're gonna do one, she might do one, I might do one. I don't know that that maybe has the same value. in
I
it.
agree with that.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. Absolutely.
Elaine, I've been told you have your hand up.
Oh, yeah, I just, maybe the best way to deal with these questions is could we generate a list of questions for our consultant from MASC to get clarity? We do have a process that we're in the middle of implementing. I think that we should get some answers and maybe share those before the next school committee meeting so that we're not waiting weeks and weeks for the answers. But, there's questions about what happens with the district visits. There's questions about the slate, voting on the slate, what that entails. Are there any other questions that we should bring back to Alicia Mallon to get the clarity about the process that you're seeking?
But Elaine, I think the question I'm bringing up is one that only we can answer, because to Alicia's point, some districts do it and some don't. And so in the end, she could tell us the process, but we're gonna have to decide if we do them or not. And so I guess I'm asking for the five of us, do we feel like there are one or two people that can commit to doing every single district visit? And if not, we're talking about sort of dividing and conquering, in which case I think I have an opinion already. Regardless of what the sort of protocol or process or consistency of questions are, the inconsistency of people to me sort of diminishes the value.
Yeah, and I think we talked earlier about making that decision on the day that we vote to accept the slate of candidates, because that's when we'll know if we have any that are so far away that district visits are not appropriate anyway. To the earlier point that if we can't do them all, we shouldn't do any. But we won't know that until we know who the finalists are. So would
No,
that
Elaine, I
be,
think you're still missing my question. So I guess I'm asking, can you commit to doing all four?
What she's saying is she won't know that until she knows who the candidates are.
and we won't know how many candidates, I can't say
I
three or
might not
four.
be able to do
We
it,
don't
but
know.
what we're gonna do is when we receive the candidates. At that point in time, we're gonna decide, are we doing it? And I think there's consensus that if we're doing it, the same group of people, one person, two people, three people need to commit to doing all of them.
But we wait to make that decision. There's no.
Yeah, there's no,
Well, the only thing I'd raise is then we're doing interviews where we have a schedule. Like if we don't do the district visits, doesn't really change anything. We just have 1 week we're not doing because everything is scheduled.
right,
Oh, you're saying we wouldn't actually move everything up a week?
Well, because we need to book all these rooms. So I've already been contacting people to book a room for all the interviews. A lot of dates, we don't have space big enough to accommodate. So I was talking to Senator Shattuck and we already have the first, sixth, and seventh books. And I was going to discuss if we could be willing to meet a little earlier on the second to accommodate the planning board. But I wanted to get through this portion before we have that discussion.
and the planning board accommodated us.
I'll have the chair handle that.
It is hard to book rooms, so sure.
Yeah.
And then what is
That's why the in
the,
town.
the school committee interview day? When does MASC recommend that the candidate shows up in district? Is it like do they show up at 10 a.m. and they're with us through the school day at 2 and they see people after the day's over, once the students are gone and they hang around and then our interview is at what time at night?
So that's my understanding. I'll let Elaine jump in if she thinks differently, but the interviews I've set the dead times for, I set it so that we could do it at 7, figuring because I think we want to have parents be able to show up and watch. There's the argument that then you're making someone stay in district longer. But I think a lot of parents do commute, so I'd want it to be late enough to actually show up. watch the interviews if they wanted to come up. Like I was saying, on the second, though, we'd have to accommodate, the other board likely. Yeah.
So the first, second, sixth, seven, they're there during the day. There's a chunk where there's a break maybe.
Yep.
And then there's a seven
Maybe
PM.
or something, yeah,
Yeah, a seven PM interview, that's sort of public forum.
exactly.
When we vote on the 9.
Yep.
Is there public forum, like open voice for people to share their opinion?
So to be clear, there's no public comment during interviews, and there's no public comment during the vote. To my knowledge.
So we'll do the school committee vote, but there's no public comment, so parents are just coming to watch, but can't have.
Can I jump in here? I think we're getting two
Please.
things conflated. Yeah, when the candidates are visiting our district, they meet with various stakeholder groups. So they'll meet with a group of teachers, they'll meet with a group of parents, they'll meet with, we'll set up this schedule so that would be the moment if parents wanted to meet the candidate, it would be during the day. But the interviews themselves are recorded so that candidate number 2 doesn't see what the questions were that we asked candidate number 1. And then all of the recordings are released at the same time so that the public does know what the questions were and how the candidates responded, but they're released all at the same time so that it is not a parents and members of the community don't come to the interviews.
Okay, they don't comment, so.
No, that wouldn't be fair to candidate number 2 and candidate number 3, to have them be able to witness the interview of candidate number 1. You know what I mean?
This has to be a public meeting. They're gonna be allowed here. You just can't, they can absolutely come in. They just, my understanding is there's kind of like an understanding candidates won't come, but it's absolutely a public meeting because we can't have an executive session. So they will be here.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they do those.
Yeah. There's nothing we say that.
Your final interviews though, there should be no public comment.
Correct.
Right.
Your interview and they make the decision.
And I just want to make sure I understand this, because I think I'm struggling with the fact that if we choose to do an in-district visit, there's a lot of variability to what can happen at that point in time. And then when we have the person in district, we're going to make best efforts that everyone's going to get sort of the same experience. But because they're meeting different groups and there's just conversations taking place, there's again a lot of variable components that are going to be experienced over that point in time. And then we sort of close that chapter and we do the final interview, and we're going to have 6 questions that we're going to ask the same person. And it's just a total, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, that we're using possibly 2 data points where unique things happen. And then we're using an hour time interview where it's very much very structured and everyone gets the same experience, and what's different are their answers. But from the school committee's perspective, we're doing the same thing. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Because we need to have a place for public to feedback candidates. Then we also need to follow protocol for how we vote. So I understand you're saying like this kind of conflicting the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
But I guess.
No, it's not conflicting. It's just.
How would you have the public kind of be engaged? The idea was that you'd have like stakeholder meetings, right? And obviously you're not gonna have the same parents be able to take off 4 days in a row to meet the same people, right? But
Is that the way that, I don't mean to cut you off, I apologize, but I'm asking you and Elaine, is that the way this is done? They meet with parents?
Meet with parents, students, stakeholders, whatever we decide. It's up to us.
Right.
The stakeholder groups they meet with.
For what benefit?
So in theory, there could be a survey that they can fill out and give us feedback for the vote.
Okay.
That's up to us. How we want to handle that.
So that's what I was getting at. If there's parent stakeholder groups, at what point are we hearing from the parents? Otherwise, it's just performative.
No,
Yeah.
If we never hear from them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we need their feedback.
There needs to be a mechanism. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no
there's a
concession on
survey from the stakeholder groups. There's a purpose
Oh.
to it. Yeah, we get feedback from them.
Okay.
That's the
what
point.
I wanted
No,
to
this
know.
is good.
Yeah, that's.
None of us have gone through this.
Yeah.
So this is helpful for us to understand.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's good.
And a very quick turnaround, if you're potentially meeting someone on the 7th, to answer that survey quickly for you all to analyze the data on the 8th and present it to us on the 9th.
Well, so that was originally, we were gonna have another week. In the next week, so we were trying to push that up for initial visits.
Yeah,
So like,
I think that makes sense, right? The person came in, whatever form you're using to collect the data, you do then, it's fresh. And then it becomes available to us, like. You don't need a bunch of time to reflect on what you heard or saw, you know.
I guess I'm still evaluating the tightness of the calendar, the value of every single thing there. And I wonder if a little more time between the interviews to get the survey, to get all the feedback, to think about everything together, the candidates, you know, submissions, the interviews with them, all the stakeholder, and to have time to process all that and then do the vote, as opposed to like a literal 24 hours between the last candidate to like arguably the most important decision we will make as a committee. Whether it's worth reevaluating the district visits or sort of pushing everything up to give us a little bit of time to process all this information.
Having been through this process a number of times in my career, I'm transparent. It was very seldom where I had a final interview and I felt that the school committee had very much information about the process happened prior.
Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't catch that.
It was very seldom that I found that the school committee that was interviewing me had very much information at all about the rest of the process prior to me coming to the final interview.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of an eye opener for me many years ago because I just assumed that those connections were there, and most often they weren't.
Right.
And that's just part of the process.
Yeah, and then you're like, what did I just go through all that for? At the end of the day, I have a 1 hour interview and there's 5 votes being cast.
But I guess what it did is the screening committee had an opportunity to see more of the candidate that they're sending forward to the school committee,
Yeah.
which has happened.
Well, the screening committee gets an application, a resume, and I would assume a 1 hour interview, maybe it's less.
Right.
And that's it.
Well, but you're gonna bring the candidate, the 4 or 3 or whatever, into our district, and they're gonna meet with groups of people. So
Some of those same people might be the people that are on the screening committee.
it will be, and typically, I reckon it depends how large the school committee is, but typically, at the most, 2 school committee members would have been involved with the other part of the process. And the others are coming in and kind of learning about you for the first time. So,
How much of the district visit from the candidates visiting us, is our district selling ourselves to these candidates?
very true.
Because
Very true.
part of this is also, please come work for us.
Right, no, I fully acknowledge that, absolutely. It's a bit of a two-way interview.
I guess,
I mean, we're not a nightmare.
Well, not today, but.
But they don't wanna walk
just a
in,
minute.
they don't wanna walk into one.
I think because you were advocating for the school committee district visits, and I am not against them, I actually see a lot of value in them as well. But I'm sort of weighing the cost benefit of doing those versus, I guess what I'm proposing as a possible plan B is to not do those and move the school committee interviews, let's say all to the week of the 30th, let's say, so that we have the 6th, 7th, 8th to get all the survey data, to process everything, to look at all of the information, to then make an informed vote on the 9th. I don't know. You can push
legit.
back on that.
That makes sense to me.
That's legit. Given, yeah, I mean, just.
And again, we don't need to make a decision or vote, because this is fluid. But I do see your point there. It's like if we did choose to eliminate our visit to them, we slide up a week where they come here. And then we've got a week where we can reflect on how the interview went,
what those stakeholders have relayed to us in terms of how their experience went with their visit. And then we meet again to talk through the finalists and then vote.
And maybe it's worth asking Alicia, because I don't know what I don't know, because I haven't been through this process. And she could be like, thanks, that is a horrible idea because XYZ, and I'd be open to hearing that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she said it was optional, right? So.
No, but even the idea of like having the interviews and then having a few days, maybe she's like, oh my God, terrible because gossip spreads. I don't know. I don't know what the downside is.
No, that's what she was.
Oh.
So, originally we were gonna do the interviews the week of the 6th and then the vote the week of the 13th.
Oh, okay.
And I was trying to find some things.
Yeah.
So no, what you're describing is actually that we were in before, which is whether we're accommodating the district visits.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess, you know, like in learning about this process and thinking about it, it hadn't struck me as the visits to the districts where the candidates are currently working. I mean, what do we do to get value out of that? I guess I was kind of thinking that it could be one person going, getting the information and bringing it back to the committee. But if we only find value in it, if all 5 of us go to all the places, that's a lot. And but I appreciate that thought, you know, like that's the way to make this have value. And if that is true, then not doing that makes more sense. You know, it becomes so burdensome that I'm not sure we get enough value to you know, get what we're putting into it.
Wait, do you want to jump in? I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what everyone's saying and that, you know, the value of going to the sending districts may not be more than the value of providing us more time to process all of the information. And I think that I agree with Beanal that the information we get from these stakeholder groups as they meet with the candidates and give us feedback through their specific lenses is going to be more important information than we would get by going to their districts. So if it's a time crunch and we have to start picking our priorities, I think having the time to process the data from these stakeholder groups is most important.
How clear.
Yeah,
I like I was trying to say that. Now.
That was well stated, Elaine.
Oh, thank you. I gotta tell you, it's not easy being virtual. I feel like I'm not there, but so I'm glad I said something cogent.
So to close the loop, if we say we weren't going to do those visits, to your point, would we want to do the interviews the 30th through the 2nd, with the assumption that we have 4 candidates, and then still do the vote on the 9th, and that gives us enough time to process whatever we get for data, the date when we want to close the
Or,
survey.
you know,
Vote anything.
if we do have a special meeting the 20th or the 17th,
Yeah.
we could get at least one interview in the 26th, let's say, just so we don't do 4 days back to back.
Sure, I'll open anything.
So if you did like 26th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, or 25th, 26th, 1st, 2nd, just, you know, you could still split them up.
Yep.
But just maybe not do 6, 7, 8.
That's
More
right.
time for that.
Well, what if
I mean,
you're talking April 6th, 7th, 8th, right?
Correct.
I am. I'm saying don't do
Yeah, so
anything.
there's nothing on the 8th anyways.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's right.
What if we just agreed that we weren't gonna do them on the 6th or 7th, and we're still gonna vote on the 9th?
Yeah, that's
So
it.
let's remove those as
Yep.
school committee interview dates.
Okay.
And then you have school committee interviews on the 2nd, 1st, and possibly the 31st.
Yes.
So I'm just flipping one of those from a district visit.
Yep.
I'm flipping that work, instead of us going out, they come in.
You got it.
That's again, assuming we only have 3.
Yeah, I'm planning on 40, so that would be able to.
So then it would be the week of the 30th. It'd be the 30th, the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd.
But
Well,
I'm saying,
did-
could we do the 25th or the 26th?
Yeah, didn't we just open up the 24th here? I mean, like that to bring someone in and interview them?
Is that enough time to have someone take time off from work to come in? This is,
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, hear me out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if we just decided that the week of the 30th through the 2nd.
Yep.
Is when we were gonna have them come in, we were gonna have our evening interviews.
sure,
That then gives us the weeks of the 23rd, which I know is a tight turnaround, and the 30th. To go to them if we choose to do so.
that's true.
And then you don't have the pressure of an interview 2 nights before a vote. You could have the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th to assemble all data. And then we're gonna get together on the 9th, hash it through and vote.
So you're saying have them come here 30th, 31st, 1st, 2nd.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are the 4 days.
Yeah, that's fine. And we would, if we wanted to do out of district visits, it would be 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th.
You know,
27th, 30th, 31st, 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
How do you do 30th, 31st? We just decided those.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The way that this printed. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just the week of the 23rd.
My idea is no longer as good.
Wow, okay. But I'm not picking it up.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, in
Yeah.
fact, is because 4 straight days might be a lot, there is burnout, that if we did like the 25th, 26th, 31st, 1st in district. Or not, or you could just do 4 days in a row and it is what it is.
what if we do 24, 26? I know that someone has a conflict on 25th, so I'm saying it's like 24, 26. I don't know, 30th and 1st.
30th and, yeah, or 31st and 2nd or something.
I just know that we are getting in trouble booking the room in a second, not that matters, but.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but would that work? I'm open to anything. So.
Say that again, it was the
So it'd be
24th,
24th,
25th.
24th, 26th. We give ourselves a day off and then the 30th first.
Works for me.
Okay.
That would give you,
You have plenty of time for sure.
Yeah.
no opportunity to visit them.
Mhm.
Correct. Again.
But in between the days, you have to do it. like
Yeah, you would
consecutive days.
have, you would sort of have inconsistencies about
I like
them
what
coming
you-
to us first. And, it would
And other
flip flop,
people, yeah.
and it might change the experience.
Okay.
Sorry, what's the conflict on the 20th?
Lane has accomplished.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll be out of town that day.
and, 26th is a yes. 30th, 1st and 2nd is a yes. I'm gonna have to get back to you on the 20th. I currently have a conflict that I can see.
So sorry. So you're saying 26th is fine.
26th is good, 31st, 1st, 2nd,
We're looking at
30th, good.
Okay, I mean, I think we can work with that.
Okay, we might have a conflict on the 24th, but if I have.
So we're gonna do the 24th. 26th, radio, take a day on the 31st, do the first and second. Well, we'll make it work.
You said
Can
don't
you
do
do, can you
31st.
do 3 days in a row? Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so why don't we just say 26th, 30, 31st and
And
1st? You okay with that?
Nice.
Mhm. And if you wanted to do the 2nd, did we want to not do the, no, there was a.
Just because the room's not built.
The room's, okay.
It's not too bad.
All right.
Is that, do you want to do this?
Yeah, the most recent idea is, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, wait, just to all, sorry. The 26th, we also have a school committee meeting, so we're saying we will do a full day interview.
We
and
would
then-
move the school committee game.
Okay,
We would move like our regular school committee business some other time. Because we would be meeting that evening for the purpose of
that's
an
fine.
hour interview.
Yep.
Okay, and then we still, though, would keep the hour interview late so that parents can come, or are parents
I will
already
get
coming to
anything.
the stakeholder part?
I'm open to anything. That was my theory, but if people want it earlier, give it that. I'm not really.
I don't know, I mean, I feel like, what worked for the 5 of us? I mean,
Right.
I could make like a 4 o'clock interview, but or.
That's why I'm
5
asking.
o'clock.
I could totally make it earlier in the day. Like
Depends on time of day for childcare for me, but I could figure something out. What are people, take me out of it for a second, what are people's preferences? Do we want it earlier, or do you want to just keep it the regular time of the week? So,
I kind of like it fairly soon after the school's over. I just feel like the person we're interviewing is gonna be a little. It's gonna be more on a
Why
roll.
don't you get Alicia's opinion on that?
Sounds like we could do either.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's like, what I don't wanna do is just the five of us decide 7 o'clock. And that's a really poor experience for the candidate,
Yeah.
because they're here, 10 to 2, and then they've got 5 hours to kill. Like, you can only do so much at the point,
Yeah.
That's fair.
And I do understand the point of, it's an open meeting, and parents can come. Is that typical? Are they getting the survey to give us feedback? Like, what would the value be of the
I
parents
think it,
coming? Or is it really just when there's the stakeholder portion? And
Well,
when we
it's,
would
it's
ask
not
them?
that we're like necessarily inviting them to come for those interviews, it's more that it's an open meeting and if they wanna come, they can come.
Right, but to schedule it at 7 because
see,
parents have work
no,
means
right.
that we want their voice, but if we're not getting their voice,
Follow.
we could just do it at 4.
I think
And once the interviews are complete, they get published anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple days for people to
That's why I was asking. about
talk to
open
us about the
forum.
interviews, if they wanted to.
If the only people that are surveyed are the ones that are the parents and the stakeholders, or not the parents that come to open meeting, then we're not hearing from them
Right.
anyway, unless we are, and I could be wrong, so I'm open to.
So we wouldn't hear from them in that interview, but if they attended the interview, but like you're saying, they could watch it later anyways.
Yeah.
Then they could fill out the survey as well. It's gonna be a public survey.
Those will get posted before we do our vote?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Second to third, the second to last.
Okay, then I-
There's a week after that.
Yeah, so like, the last interview gets done. LCTV processes the data, and then the
Okay.
next morning at 10 a.m., all three or four interviews go live.
Then
So
I
six-
definitely think we need a week before we do the vote, because we're giving them no time
No, I'm great with it.
to do that survey.
Yeah.
And as long as it's not a logistical conflict with the 5 of us, I would say then to just do them at 4 o'clock. Because
Yeah.
to make them go kill time and come back at 7, and that's exhausting.
It's a lot.
Again,
It's,
I would take Alicia's recommendation, like perhaps there's, perhaps it's typical for them to meet with building administration or staff after the school day or something like that. There's a component that typically happens from, after dismissal. I don't want to take that away from them.
Yeah,
But yes, let's try to meet earlier.
One
than
other
7.
thing is we need to make sure Alicia can get there. I'm sure she can.
Yeah.
Just calling it out. Elaine, do you have anything you want to jump in? I don't want to ignore you.
Yeah, I think we need to get some clarity from Alicia about the process for the finalist interviews, because I wasn't clear that parents or that the community came to those. I thought they were recorded and then released.
Public meeting.
The other thing that we could
It's,
do is.
yeah, it's a public meeting, but I thought that it would be public by releasing a video, not public in the moment. So I may be wrong on that, but I feel like we should get clarity from Alicia.
everyone here is saying is public in the moment. All the heads are nodding.
Oh,
I think
okay.
for-
I can't
I
read the
think for
body
the
language.
purpose of open meeting, because it's not an executive section, executive session function.
Right.
The
But we don't-
negotiation of the contract will be executive session, but it's a regular open meeting, so therefore the public is welcome.
But the public feedback that we get is from the stakeholder groups, not from the interview.
But it could
Right.
be.
Well, someone's gonna catch you at the deli a day later and give you their feedback, but there is no public comment that night.
Correct.
Right.
But they could come and fill out the survey, so they could give us feedback from that interview.
So I'm not sure there's a survey for the interviews. I thought the survey was from the stakeholder meetings.
Well, we can clarify. with Alicia.
That's what I want to find out from
My understanding
Alicia.
is that it was, and that was the whole thing, we were gonna release the three of them all at once, so the public could see them and evaluate them.
One possible suggestion
But I'm
would
not
be to
sure.
see if Alicia could join us on our 2/26
Yeah.
school committee meeting for 15 minutes. to
Yeah, I
run
think that would be
this,
smart.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're gonna come up with new questions at that point in time and she'll talk us through it.
Yeah.
So if she can, great. If she can't and we want to, we could do a 30-minute Zoom meeting with her, as long as we post and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It'd just be an opportunity to interact with our consultant on this topic.
I think that's smart.
All right,
Moving forward.
clear as mud.
No, I think that was.
No, it's
Thank you for your
We're doing it
work
right.
for
We have
doing
one
this.
question, so we're doing it right.
Well, I want to raise it now as opposed to on March fifth, when everything's
Yes.
kind of already decided.
No, it's good.
Let's figure it out now.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, absolutely. But, it is difficult to book rooms in the town. It's
Yeah.
hard.
All right. That wasn't a great representation of open meeting and us working through something in real time. I don't know what else is. All right, we're good with this topic? I'm gonna close it out then.
Yeah.
So that takes care of all business. On the agenda, it's our second opportunity for interested citizens. We have no one online, so I will close that portion of the meeting and we're gonna move through our subcommittee reports. First of which is PMBC, non-Shaker Lane related.
Yes, PBC is dormant right now, so this one.
Great. Budget subcommittee, Janine, Steve. But
We met?
yeah, and Kelly, we met, was that yesterday? Yeah, so we met yesterday in preparation for the presentation that we'll make to the select board and finance committee this Saturday. It's at 9 AM. It's a public meeting. All are invited. Please don't feel any obligation to come. But we have our talking points. We have a presentation on our budget or the appropriated funds that we're gonna ask for the town. Details, our initial ask, and then the $600,000 reduction that the town asked us to work towards and how we solve that. And then we have a future subcommittee meeting scheduled to work through our formal budget presentation of the school committee, which will take place at our it's probably the March 12th meeting.
March 12th is the public.
Yeah, right in the middle of all this superintendent stuff. So that's what's been going on with the budget subcommittee. So fingers crossed that the select board and the finance committee like what we have to say on Saturday morning.
Solid.
Policy subcommittee.
All right, it's a real test here at 9:50 PM. Okay, here we go. So we have a slew of policies for first reading. I will go through each one.
Sure.
So policy HA, negotiation goals, we are not proposing any changes to this policy. This is our original policy. It is also aligned with the mask policy.
Pausing, hold this up, I think. Okay.
Okay. You can say next, Steve.
Do you have the next, do you have the, so I think what Zeno's
Yeah,
asking
there
to
we
do
go.
is show HA and I think we're good with it and then
We're
move
good
on
with
to
HA?
HB.
Okay, great. So policy HB, negotiations, legal status. We are proposing adopting the mask policy.
Alex is online if you need him for something.
Alex,
Yes.
hi, do you have the sheet where we highlight the difference between our policy and the mask policy? The one that
Oh,
we-
no, I just put on the exact MASC policies for when we're going to adopt them.
Yeah, the sheet that we show when we meet, the Google sheet, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the Google sheet.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to share that with you?
Yeah, because then I can just talk to them. With all our this one had very small changes, but I want to. Are there any questions in reading this one? HF, school committee negotiating agents. We also made minimal changes here and just aligned with the mask policy. In this one, I think mask is updated to outline the scope and services of a negotiator, which is sort of highlighted in ABCD. Where previously we just had, school committee will appoint a negotiator and the duties will be discussed. And so mask has sort of updated that to highlight what the duties could be, proposing adopting our updated policy.
No questions.
And then we have policy ICA, which is the school year / school calendar policy, and so we have no changes for this. Good. Okay. Policy ID, school day. There is one minor change we're proposing, which is, you can see how the track changes here. That students will be admitted into the school building not more than 15 minutes ahead, which is aligned with our operational practices. Policy IGA, IGD. So mask is actually, these used to be two separate policies, curriculum development and the curriculum adoption. And mask is actually proposed combining them. I do want to highlight the sentences that we proposed omitting because these are not what we do in practice. So this policy, the mask, the way mask has it worded, says that the school committee will officially adopt new programs and courses, instructional content, and the acceptance of these curriculum reports and listing of high school programs constitutes the school committee's adoption of the curriculum. We don't vote to adopt curriculum or have a role to approve it. So we are proposing to strike these lines, but this is up for discussion as this is the mask policy, but we are awesome.
Any thoughts?
Does anyone know why mask would dictate that the committees be involved in this if that feels very operations? And I understood from mask that my role is not operations, and therefore I'm like a little confused about why mask would have that in. Is that a bad question?
Oh, it's a good question.
Well, that's why we highlighted it this way. I mean, it does say to adopt new programs and courses when they constitute an extensive alteration, but there's so much to be interpreted there. Or like, what is the criteria for that? It seemed very fuzzy, and it didn't seem like our role in practice.
I mean, unless it isn't operations. I mean, I
don't know, we really haven't had this come before us, but this makes me think of what you see in the news where people are showing up to school committee meetings and talking about certain aspects of the curriculum.
Yeah.
We heard examples tonight about DEIB and all that stuff, and the public has different opinions on that. And then does it become the school committee's decision as to what we do and what we support and all that good stuff? The way that it's worded now is, we're giving the authority to the superintendent. We just spent 30 minutes talking about how we don't know who that person is. In the very near future, I would probably be okay with leaving the committee language in for now. And that way the committee retains some control of the curriculum.
I think, I understand what you're saying, Justin, but we have a pretty fine-tuned process and Beth isn't going anywhere.
Right, no, I know there's a
She's a
process.
driver. Curriculum. I mean, personally, I've never worked for a district in 27 years that wanted to venture into that process. I mean, that's what you hire trained professionals for, is to make those decisions.
Yeah, I think it's, well, the way that I would view it is it's like, if we left it as is and we performed as written, it would be an update to the school committee, that these are the changes to the curriculum, these are the recommendations, and I would expect like a slate, like, yep, that sounds good, let's cast a vote, this is superintendent's recommendations. If we caught rumblings of, geez, there's something really odd about what's taking place, or this is super controversial and other, whatever the case may be, that would give us an opportunity for the five of us to represent our constituents on, is this a good move for the district or not?
And to your point, that does create a situation where we share the responsibility. I mean, the superintendent, whoever they may be, will be responsible. We will look to the administration for the information, but we will share the responsibility for the curriculum that is chosen and implemented. Is that that's what I hear you saying?
And I don't really have a firm stance on it one way or another. I'm just,
I mean,
we're striking the line and I'm saying, I think that's what that's all about.
I mean, when you make the decision, it's your decision, but by the time we come to you, we've already invested considerable dollars in pilot.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
As long as you know that.
Yeah.
So the train has left the station and we're making decisions with educators in terms of how we best meet the needs of our students.
I'm just saying, one way of looking at keeping that language in is that you're not out there all by yourself. All of us are right there with you because we've all taken responsibility for it.
Elaine, I see your hand. Sorry, just one second. I was just gonna say, similar to the conversation we're even having about the superintendent search and that none of us have done it. We want to have as much information as possible. I am not a curriculum expert. I think of all of us in the committee, Elaine is. I will just go with the information that's given to me. It's almost like formative at that point, unless we're committing to saying we will do the research to understand the curriculum, to see its implementation, and to give an informed vote. Is it going to be informed, or is it just, and we're still being informed of all the courses and revisions. We have an opportunity to give feedback, but to take the ownership of voting it in feels like I have all the information I need. And so I'm making that vote. That makes sense? Okay. I don't know, that's the solid plan, but I'd love to
good point.
hear what Elaine thinks, if she does know curriculum.
Yeah, I think this policy is more aimed at larger districts, to be honest. Like, I know that cities tend to vote to approve the adoption of curriculum, but like what you're saying, being like, the committee would have to do a lot of research on the curriculum to be able to have an informed opinion to take a vote. And that is, way beyond the purview of what we typically do on a school committee. And it is, to my mind, it is an operations job. Like, we've got a director of curriculum that runs a whole process where programs are piloted and there's, teacher feedback is incorporated and a lot of research is done. And a school committee would never have the capacity to do that much research to try to make a decision. So, I can't believe as a curriculum person that I'm saying that I want to strike the language, but I think I think our current practice has been serving us well. I don't think, I of course want to be informed when there's major curriculum decisions being made, but if we get into the business of taking a vote to adopt curriculum, it could be a real slippery slope, especially at the high school where you've got, curriculum in individual classes that's not affecting the whole school. So I would prefer that we go with the that we go with the version that the policy committee, subcommittee is proposing tonight with the strikeouts.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, having heard the last 2 points.
We are still saying that we would like to be informed,
Yeah.
which we thought was important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
striking it
this
as
is neighboring district. I think I've seen where they, on their agenda, it was like, I think they were actually, you know how we're presented the offerings at the high school and it's presentation-ish.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
There was a neighboring district that the presentation was more, this is what, this is what we'd like to offer and we need you to approve this.
Yeah.
That's the only difference, I guess.
I guess what I'm saying is that vote, does it have any substance, or do they just always vote yes unanimously? Because
I don't know, like, I'm trying to think through a couple things, like, it's like, hey, we're offering this, like, budgets are tight, we're offering this class, there's 3 kids enrolled, we're like, sorry.
Well, I can tell you how it worked in Lowell when I worked there. So when we wanted to change the curriculum, we would have to go to the school committee and basically argue for our decision, like basically defend our position to want to adopt this curriculum. And there would be a short discussion and then they would vote to approve it. But often their criteria was budget related. Like no, you can't adopt that because it's too expensive.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
but I feel like we deal with that stuff before it gets to the point of coming to the school committee for a vote.
I mean, ultimately, we as a school committee approve the budget and then the town approves it as well.
I mean, you assume that there will, not assume, there will be a different superintendent, of course, and different leadership. There will also be different school committees. So you could have school committees that are like, I demand there be 45 AP classes and, like
Yeah.
both sides of it, right? And like, do we want the school committee not knowing that there will be 5 curriculum experts up here able to make those demands, add to the bureaucracy of operations and curriculum?
I would encourage you to leave the strikeouts. You can always review it at another time. You have a new superintendent. You heard my experiences, and I mean, we do inform you. We have not implemented a curriculum without doing a presentation. So you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. But I mean, Elaine's right. At times, depending on who's in front of you, it's the money that's weighing the decision more than the benefit to students at times.
I guess I just think it's odd that we're removing MASC recommended language.
Oh, yeah, we were talking to
Yeah,
this
talked
one
to them.
because like, why are they recommending this? This doesn't seem like the school.
But the history of this organization, even before I came here, was to not be involved.
Yeah.
50+ years. I don't think there were any snags.
I'm fine either way, but
I mean, it's first reading, also, we can think about
sure.
it.
I can do a little research, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I am, as you're talking, I'm thinking, like, if we're talking curriculum and we mean like any given class, we want to give a shot at, advanced home financial management for the seniors. Like, I don't know that I want the staff to feel like they need to bring that to us. I want them to give it is that what we want? Is
It
that
feels
how
like
we want
bureaucracy.
to? Yeah. Yeah, and then just, maybe only 3 kids try it one year and then they talk it up and then the next year there's a lot. So you want.
We would need to be extensive alteration, which is left up to someone's interpretation.
Right.
It gives like the school
Yeah.
committee a chance to like an opportunity to sort of challenge something that's happening in the district. But,
Right,
okay,
that's-
first reading, we're good.
Yeah.
We've talked through it.
First reading,
Yeah.
great, keep thinking
Yeah.
about it. Okay, IPB, Learning Support Services Programs. We are updating the titles to be more consistent with what we have. So the curriculum director, we're changing to Director of Teaching and Learning, and Director of Pupil Personnel Services. We are changing to Director of Student Services.
Okay.
IHBD, Title I supplement, not supplant policy and procedures. We are proposing no changes to this policy and is still aligned with that. And Title I laws, not really much we can change here.
Okay.
And then IHBEA, English language learners. This is the updated mask policy. There were not very much. Yeah, they did, the language is generally the same. They sort of changed the structure of it a little bit, like they have bullets now. Where previously it was all in a paragraph. There's not substantial changes, so we just are proposing to adapt the mask policy as is, which is this.
Good by me.
And the previous policy actually made reference to No Child Left Behind. Which, wait, didn't we change this, Alex? The No Child Left Behind reference?
Yeah, I think so. Hold on, let me look at the.
It's still here. We changed it in the language, so it says at the end, you see the district shall provide additional information as required by DESE to comply with federal law. That used to say to comply with No Child Left Behind, but we still have it in the legal references at the bottom. I think we'll need to take that out.
Oh yeah, I didn't take that out. My bad.
Okay, yeah. So that was the main change. That's no longer.
So those are the first readings. We will do them again. Would you like to make the official motion just so we can have a second reading next?
Yep, motion to accept the following policies from first reading: HA, HB, HF, IC, ICA, IB, IGA, IGB, IGB, IHBD, IHBEA.
Motion made by Vino, seconded by Sean. Another roll call vote. Vino?
Vino, yeah.
Sean?
Sean, yes.
Elaine?
Elaine Sandelman, aye.
Justin McCarthy, yes.
Janine, yes.
5-0, perfect. Last on the subcommittee reports is Shaker Lane Building Committee update.
Kelly, do you?
Got about an hour's worth of information to give us.
At least.
We're borderline violating our own bylaws here, being
That's right.
past 10 o'clock, but
Well,
we're
be quick,
wrapping
right?
this up.
Be quick.
Yes.
We have started our weekly meetings with Studio G to talk about design in the building. So we've identified various groups that we're going to meet with to get input. Obviously, security, the police department. When it comes to fields, we will bring Park and Rec in, and Justin, I'd like you, if possible, to be at that meeting as well, because I want to make sure that we're looking at the interests of the entire athletic community here.
Sort of heavy shoulders. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
I think our initial plan and discussions are probably the way we go, but in all fairness, we haven't talked to any other groups about field space.
So I know Littleton Youth Baseball and Softball has made an effort to have that conversation.
Right.
I'm on the basketball board, so I know youth basketball has an interest in what the gymnasium shakes out like. But yeah, happy to be involved in the field space and make sure that the right people are in there.
Yeah, I mean, we have an opportunity to do it right for the next 10, 15 years in terms of fields.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go beyond that because we all know that certain sports ebb and flow in every community. Just want to make sure we do our due diligence to make sure we get good use of what we decide on. So that's it. It's good to be back to the table with the group again. And it's exciting that we're at this stage of the project. Some final designs coming out in the next 4 months or so. And before you know it, the move-in date's gonna be here. So it's go pretty fast.
It's not on the agenda, but I do want to acknowledge that this newly created communications subcommittee did have a meeting with Sean, myself, and Superintendent Clenchey. Shannon put together an agenda. We talked through a number of topics, some of which we had heard tonight about, the possible need for community communication on certain relevant topics. We talked about social media platforms and what the school currently uses. Community's interest in hearing from the schools and being more approachable and all that good stuff. So we created a committee. The committee had a meeting, talked through a number of things, and we have another meeting scheduled for next month. So that'll be a reoccurring monthly meeting, and we feel like we've got some traction with that.
And one quick thing was really Lord's helping me serve. Please have this meeting website. So I sent out an email to all of you, just looking for a headshot. I put bio. And next meeting, we're gonna do a pretty picture at the top. So
I'm gonna use my headshot from that MASC conference I got.
perfect.
Oh, you got your, did you get there?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome. You can get there.
I know it'll be a little odd because all the headshots will be different, but
That's true.
whatever.
We can work through that.
Yeah, like sure. AI can do it. Is there any other new business, old business before the school committee before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Hearing none, I'll announce that our next meeting is February 26th, 2026, 7 p.m. Wilson Police Station. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Made by
Second.
John, seconded by Janine. Roll call vote. Dino,
No, I.
John,
Try.
Elaine,
Elaine Sandelman, aye.
Dustin votes yes. Janine,
I.
5-0. We have adjourned.